The individual classes, the women, the juniors, the masters, the stock R Merlin Plus and the elites are all going to have a very tricky time of it for timed qualifying. I'm Jake Sanson, great to be with you for the 2025 season, and this is going to be the start of an intense battle that will go all the way to the season finale at Macau in November. There are 5 great race weekends that make up the World Championship, starting here in Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates, then heading on to Turkey in the second weekend of the competition. A big summer break as we prepare ourselves for the World Games in Chengdu in August. And then, of course, we have around 3 and 4 back-to-back weekends in Italy and Croatia. And then in November, finishing off the season with the World Cup and the final round of the World Championship at Macau, the brilliant region of China that gave us such a fantastic weekend at the tail end of last season. We're going to start this week's action with some qualification rounds for each of the competitors. We've got spectators of all shapes and sizes and, of course, of all forms out here on the course. We are ready for an exciting battle. It's clockwise in configuration, this one, with a very intense race course. I've been talking to a lot of the riders in preparation for this event, and they've been telling me that the course is actually a lot easier on the competitors than it was in Macau. Certainly the sea is a lot calmer as well, which definitely makes things particularly perfect for us. But this is a fantastic part of the United Arab Emirates. While you could talk about Dubai and Abu Dhabi being parts of the country that have basically been flooded by all forms of culture, Fujairah remains a part of the world that is still very Arabian, and it's still very true to its original roots. It's a fantastic part of the world, this, and you really do get the true sense of occasion and expectation around this place. While it's built up, it's certainly not been westernized in quite the same way as a lot of the areas of the Emirates are. It's the 7th largest city in the country, part of the Gulf of Oman, which of course is connected to the Indian Ocean, and it is the only Emirati capital city on the United Arab Emirates east coast. So it's quite an important part of the world. Back 10 years ago, the population was 97,000 people here, and the population has since grown by almost double that in the last 10 years. So it's very exciting. Temperatures this week is going to get to around 41 to 42 degrees Celsius air temperature. So everyone has been working themselves into a crescendo. The training that goes into this particular weekend is more intense than a lot of the others over the course of the week as well. We're just getting ready with the competitors getting onto the shoreline. There is Sara Zubarova, who's going to be starting off proceedings for us. And she will take the water for the first time. Very impressive young rider, starting things off for us in the women category. And Sara Zubarova, definitely one to watch in 2025. 15 years of age, really stepping up out of the juniors into the world of the women's category. So this is deer in headlights time for Sara Zubarova, getting her final best wishes from her colleagues down there on the shoreline. But this is very tough stuff indeed as we approach 42 degrees Celsius air temperature. The riders were telling me that it's difficult when you're on the board to actually get a decent quantity of oxygen into your lungs when you're trying to control your breathing. For those who are just thinking these boarders, they're nutters, they're just slapping an engine into the surfboard and going racing, you would have no idea the quantifiable energy and intensity that goes into preparing for this event. There is so much cardio that is needed. There is so much physical fitness required. A lot of the riders have been telling me they've actually doubled their gym training just to be prepared for the hot weather conditions. And even today, during the fast parts of the course in the practice sessions, there were a lot of close to dehydration moments for a lot of the riders who just were not expecting the intensity that we're going to get. It's going to be a long day of qualification, this, as the riders will go 2 by 2. And they will run out in close proximity, but it's the number 66, Sara Zubarova, that will go out first. And the young Slovakian doing a very good job indeed last year in the junior category, now stepping up into the women's category, up against the very best of female talent. It's going to be fascinating to see who manages to get the best of it on this course. There's our Paddock camera under the awning, and you can see all of the teams pretty much collected in one space. That's one of the things I do love about the UIM MotoSurf. It is a community, and everybody does assist each other. There is a real camaraderie amongst the riders. If there's a problem with one person's board, everybody mucks in. Everybody tries to assist each other. Nobody likes to see a board out on the sidelines not racing. So where everybody is very, very closely knit and trying to make sure everything goes according to plan. Our jet skis are in position. We obviously have to have 2 jet skis as our course vehicles. And so the riders have obviously been telling us a little bit about the conditions of the waves. The simple answer to that is perfectly serene at the moment. No big waves to worry about here in the marina. So everybody's been taking good stock of the situation here on the Gulf of the Indian Ocean, looking very calm and relaxed at the moment. And it's a fascinating place, this Fujairah city. The road runs right through the city and connects to Dubai through the Emirate of Sharjah. And it's a fantastic area, this. It's located on the east coast of the country, just outside the Strait of Hormuz. The port was built in 1978. The quay stretches over 6.7 kilometers. And it's actually one of the largest major global shipping routes. And it's one of the world's largest bunkering hubs alongside Rotterdam in the Netherlands and alongside Singapore in Southeast Asia. So it's a pretty spectacular place, this. It's also a very highly ranked tourism facility. You've got Fujairah Heritage Village near the Madab Spring Park. The main mosque, of course, is the Sheikh Zayed Mosque, the second largest in the United Arab Emirates, and it's a landmark visible from pretty much everywhere across the city. And it's a fantastic area of the country, this. I've only just been getting to know it myself the first time, having been a frequent flyer to Dubai and Abu Dhabi over the years. It's been fascinating to come to a new part for me in the United Arab Emirates. And it's a lot of people have told me the locals call this place the true Arabia of the United Arab Emirates. Still not quite as westernized as some of the other locales in the country. But certainly at the moment, our weather conditions are telling us that it's going to be a particularly spicy day for heat. According to the Met Office, we are currently ranging at about 42 degrees Celsius. That is absolutely insane for those who are not used to it, but it's the height of the temperature that we're going to get today. It's all going to come down to how the riders will cope with the conditions through their 2 laps of qualifying. They go around the course twice, and it's their fastest lap that puts them into position. Obviously, the way that qualifying works is that each rider gets to run around the course and set the fastest lap times. Whoever is the fastest rider in each class will be the front-running competitor going into Group A, and then the second fastest rider will be the leader of Group B. The third fastest rider will be second in Group A, the fourth fastest rider will be second in Group B, and so on and so on. It staggers all the way through. The only class that doesn't get separated into groups is the elite category, which is the Formula 1, if you like, of UIM MotoSurf, the only class where the boards can be changed. I was asking a couple of the riders in elite earlier this morning, what can you change on the MotoSurf in the elite category? And they were basically telling me, apart from the fuel tank and the fuel you run, you can change pretty much anything you like. And that really does make for quite a complex battle for our riders in elite. That's about as close as our feline friend is going to get to the shoreline today. Certainly won't want to be getting too wet over the course of today's activities. But we've got a grand total of 19 riders in the female category. Sara Zubarova, Laura Markova and Barbara Kolarova of the Czech Republic. We've got Polina Karpova, who is going to be an interesting one to watch out for, continuing her journey. Quite a few riders in the females category this year who are racing for the very first time in this category. Rosalia Janora stepping up out of the juniors from last year, the Polish rider. Dinara Ibragimova stepping up as well. Kristina Herbkova, An Shihan and Yui Nijin of China are going to be in this category, as is Adela Ostrichilova, who is stepping into the World Championship for the first time, having competed in Italy and Jeddah on one-off occasions before, now going full tilt in the World Championship. Natalie Kachlikova is going to be in this class as well. Hopefully so too is the Korean competitor Eunjin Lee. I spoke to her earlier today, and she's actually been having some rib discomfort. They decided to put her in for the 2 practice sessions earlier to assess whether she's going to be good enough to race. If she is, fantastic. If she isn't, I said to her, come and join me on the commentary for the 2 days of race action. So we may well be having a guest in the commentary booth, the Korean talent Eunjin Lee, who would be fantastic in the box, I have to say. We've also got Valentina Novotná and Elizabeta Fatova in this particular class. So too is the Czech rider Linda Lukscheider. For Slovakia, we have Emma Strichalova, and then 3 other competitors from the Czech Republic, Mariana Navarova, Aneta Stuklova, and Eliska Matuskova. The last of those, of course, was the first rider in the 2024 campaign to qualify for the World Games in Chengdu later this year. So very impressive, and we'll obviously be keeping an eye on Eliska Matuskova, who is the leading seed coming into the women's category in the 2025 campaign. So as the riders get themselves ready for the action, we're going to have some great competition across the qualifiers. It's going to be a lot of busy riders going out onto the course for this one. We'll get to see a lot of exciting situations for all of the riders as we prepare for the action in front of us. It's going to be a very busy schedule, but the qualifying sessions will be running for women, for juniors, for masters, for stock and stock rookies, as well as for the elite category. Will be fascinating to see how everybody gets on, though. Qualifying will pretty much take us all the way through till 5:20 local time. It's just gone 2 p.m. here, so any moment now the female competitors will be getting themselves ready for the starting point. There are the Broadcats, getting themselves ready for the action out on the course. Fantastic team of operators, and there's Team Poland. Giving themselves up with a massive amount of competitors this year. They really have come up with some incredible competitors to go racing. I believe there's a couple of last-minute checks needed before we can send everybody out onto the course. So it's going to be an interesting one to see how everybody gets on with things. But certainly here on the beach, it's going to be an interesting one. Hello to everybody watching along at home. For me, this is my first full-time tilt in the UIM MotoSurf World Championship. Great to be with you. It should be an interesting one out there in these conditions. 42 degrees Celsius air temperature. Don't forget that these guys are definitely going to be finding it pretty tricky to balance on the boards, not just because of the wash of the waves, which is pretty minimal. Balancing on that front is not going to be too difficult. It's actually the intensity of the heat that makes it a real challenge for the contenders. So that's what's going to be causing the biggest issues for the riders. So as everybody gets themselves ready for an exciting showcase, the Broadcats are in position. The officials are just doing the final checks on the jet skis to make sure that the course is clear. Once we've got the thumbs up from them, we can begin our qualifying tilt. We'll have the women's going first and foremost. After then, we'll have the competitors in the juniors category. The boys and girls will run together initially, and then they'll run separate in the finals on Sunday. So we've got a whole array of new faces in the juniors, of course, as they've stepped up to the category. Some returning from last year, others are new for the first time. So in the juniors, we'll have Melanie Janochobova, Jakub Nianochny, Maja Zolovinska and Nela Podsnikova, Ellen Bardova and Matthias Barvik, along with Stanislav Kahut and Maximilian Hruska, Oliver Wolf and Leo Lischel-Kratushvili, the Austrian. They're all going to be involved in that one. 10 riders in total in the juniors for this first weekend of the championship. Then we'll have the Masters, 20 of them in total. Petr Poznik, the Turk racer Evay Gerzoy, and then we'll have Andrei Atanasov of Bulgaria. The home favourite, Ali Al-Hameri from the United Arab Emirates. Then we'll have Unga Chauhong of Macau. Vladimir Maslenikov, Pavel Matoshka, the Czech rider. We'll also have Eros Osman Sadat. That's one of the Turkish riders. A lot of them this year, obviously, with the preparations for them to compete on home soil in the second round of the championship. Stanislav Ganachkin is going to be there as well as David Poznik and Ivan Matuszek. Yuri Blaha, 3 very talented Czechs in the Masters category then. Murat Jorgenschila, the Turkish rider, along with Roman Lischel-Kratushvili. I spoke with him a little bit earlier on. He's actually had barely any time to prepare himself for his races. He was so busy focusing on his son Leo that his own preparations have kind of gone second priority. So we'll have to see how he gets on in qualifying. Radek Lochka is going to be in this mix of the Masters as well from the Czech Republic. The Belgian talent Jano Vankersbilk, along with the Polish rider Akurius Janora. Then Petr Faldusek and Yuri Stovecik from the Czech Republic. And the leading seed, of course, from Korea, Kim Down, who's definitely going to be a big talent in this category, not only competing in the Masters, but also competing in the stock category, which we now get to talk about. There's a handful of riders in the stock rookies, Adam Kolar and Ender Jorgenschila, along with Tanton Wangren-Gorket of the Thai Kingdom. Then the Italian Lorenzo Tanda, along with David Kuchka, Mike Michailidis, the Cypriot, and Faraz Ramadan, the Kuwaiti. And then we'll have the competitors in the stock category, which we'll talk about a little bit further on. And then, of course, we'll get ourselves ready for the elites. But as you can see, Sara Zubarova getting herself ready for the first qualification run of 2025. So the Slovakian talent, Sara Zubarova, ready for action and certainly hoping to put in a good show right from the outset. The 15-year-old from Slovakia stepping up into the women's category in 2025. So Sara Zubarova currently sporting the number 13 shirt, although listed as number 66. The numbers they enter in their racing numbers actually differ from the numbers they race with in competition because they're given different numbered shorts, so we can identify them from the differing events, as they will obviously race under different numbers for each different race, depending on where they're positioned on the grid. But Sara Zubarova trying to put herself into the frame for a run at pole position. It's a lot to ask of her in her first event in the World Championship in the women's category. Having been a very talented junior, though, don't expect massive fireworks from Sara Zubarova straight away. But over the course of the season, she's definitely going to get faster and faster. And I would not put top 3 out of her reach in the 2025 campaign. So as the women's category is obviously underway, Sara Zubarova hoping to get a fairly decent time off the board. If you go fastest in your group, then you're obviously going to end up in pole position of your group as well. Second fastest will be the quickest of Group B. And Sara Zubarova's opening bid is a 1 minute 6.887. So that's the benchmark for everybody else. A good start from Sara Zubarova. Can she find a little bit more pace than that, of course, because they run 3 laps in any one time. The reason that Sara Zubarova is out there on her own is, I believe, it's because she is the youngest competitor in the women's category in 2025. The others are all over the age of 16. So as the newest competitor in the category, Sara Zubarova has just been given the opportunity to run on her own in this class. The reason she's racing in women in 2025, of course, is that this is the year that she turns 16. So she's able to compete at this level. And it's perfectly legal for her to do so. So Sara Zubarova looking for a faster time, certainly picking things up a little bit faster in the switchback. We've got these 2 different routes that they can take in race trim. You can choose whichever one you want. They're both as fast as each other in qualifying trim. Out of the final couple of corners, through the right-hander and across the line, the checkered flag flies. Is it quicker than the 106.887 she's set on her first run? The answer is no. So her best time is a 106.887. So that is what we're going to continue with. And for Sara Zubarova, that is the benchmark for every other rider to follow along with. Sara Zubarova, I think, losing one of her ankle supports, I think that might be. Certainly losing something as she now makes her way back to the shore. And the rest of the riders in the women's group are going to be 2 by 2. And the first 2 that will head out are going to be Laura Markova and Barbara Kodorova for the second run. So not a bad start then to her women's class career for Sara Zubarova, having stepped out of junior last year. Now into the women's category, we've got Laura Markova, the number 89, and Barbara Kodorova, the number 14. Watching a replay then of some of the faster moments in Sara Zubarova's run. Look how closely you have to run to the boys to really get the best of it. The women tend to run a little bit more of a smoother lap than the male categories do. The male categories tend to be a lot more aggressive in their starts, whereas the women's category tends to be a little bit more elegant, a little bit more smooth in how they control the board. So it's a very different style of racing in the 2 categories. So Laura Markova and Barbara Kodorova are going to be the 2 riders that we will observe in this run. 2 very different competitors and both hungry for success in 2025 in the female category. So the competitors obviously wanting to get out of the blocks very quickly and put on a good show nice and early. As we keep an eye on the talents moving forward. I think that is Kolarova that we're actually keeping an eye on first of all. My apologies. No, that is Laura Markova, just building herself up to a decent time. Taking it nice and smoothly to begin the fast lap. Both riders just getting themselves dialed in initially. Just warming themselves up. They obviously go at various points on the course. They go either half just to make it work. So about 30 seconds after one rider will have started their run, the other one will then follow on in pursuit. So that basically gives the whitewater a chance to clear. That's why we do it. We run 2 at a 2 at the same time, partly because of the intensity of the schedule, but also because if you run two riders close to each other in qualifying, the white water makes it impossible for you to get a fast lap time. So by running a 30-second separation between the two riders, you get a much clearer type of lap. So that is Lora Markova getting herself ready. And there is her opponent in this qualifying run, Barbara Kolarova. It looks as though they've both been asked to go back in, so not entirely sure what's happened there, but clearly an issue of some kind that has prevented us from getting that particular run. So both ladies go back to the shoreline. Ah, it's a faulty buoy, that's what it is. So they've got to repair and replace one of the buoys. That's a bit of an irritation for both Lora Markova and Barbara Kolarova, who are obviously getting themselves sped up to that one. There go the safety team. Obviously trying to replace the buoy. If it falls down in position, then it becomes pretty tricky at the full chat of speed. If you clip that at the wrong pace, you're going to come off the board. So that's why they have to replace the buoy. You can't just go round it. You actually have to replace it. So that gives me a bit of an opportunity to talk you through the competitors in the stock and stock rookies. I already mentioned the rookie riders, Adam Kolar, Enda Jorgenschila, Tantorn Wangrunkit of Thailand, Lorenzo Tander of Italy, David Kuchka of the Czech Republic, Mike Michailidis of Cyprus, and Faris Ramadan of Kuwait. Those are the competitors that are going to be running in the Stock R Merlin Plus category. But they'll qualify at the same time on the course as the Stock category, because they may as well. Very similar configurations aboard. And in the stock category this year, we have Adam Ficek of the Czech Republic, Abdullah Al-Blushi of the United Arab Emirates, Suchi Leong of Macau, Jan Matoshka of the Czech Republic, Ismail Kaptanoglu of Turkey, Mohamed Al-Tamimi of Kuwait, Zhang Maozhu of China, Han Tahi of Korea. We'll also have Hannes Hultberg, the Swedish rider. Then we'll have Jan Travnicek of the Czech Republic, Miroslav Kups and Adam Janusek, both of the Czech Republic. Hassan Bouabas of Kuwait, who did such a fantastic job in Macau. And then we'll also have Damian Kadlec of the Czech Republic, Anthony Squire of the United States of America, and Kim Down, who is competing not only in Masters, but also in Stock, the Korean talent. Then, of course, we'll have the 10 riders that are taking part in the first round of the 2025 UIM MotoSurf World Championship in Elite. That is the Formula One of our sport. Lukas Jaworski, Jiří Wolf, and Daniel Pravaznik, along with Oliver Navarra and Denis Berda. Then Matej Kozicek, Dominik Kadlec, Alex Lukscheider, and Matthias Novotny. The perfect 10 from the Czech Republic, all going to compete for the title in the Elite category of the 2025 UIM MotoSurf World Championship. And we're here for the Fujairah Grand Prix of the United Arab Emirates. What an exciting battle it's going to be this weekend, as Lora Markova and Barbara Kolarova are called back to the water. So they will get themselves back up to speed once again. To your right is Barbara Kolarova, to your left is Lora Markova. And the two riders will now try to see what they can do in comparison to Sara Zubarova. Now, Zubarova's time was a 1 minute 6.887. So that's a fairly decent benchmark to shoot for, realistically, for these two riders. There is Lora Markova getting herself sorted and in position, ready to go around first. She's warmed up, she's ready and in position, and I think she's going to go straight in for it now through the timing beacon for the finish line. There she goes, straight into the fast times. They obviously warmed up a little bit earlier on, so they don't need to do too much more in terms of warm-up. They just had to go back to the shore and then get the board fired up once again. So Lora Markova just working her way through turn 4. That's where the long lap will obviously take them in a different direction, through 5, through 6. For those who are new to the world of MotoSurf, it's very easy to figure out how to go round the corners. You go right of the red boys and left of the yellow boys. That's how you figure out where you're going. So for the moment, Lora Markova is just being very smooth with her turns at the moment. Much trickier to go to the left as it is to the right. With the right-hand corners, you can actually put your hand down in the water to help guide you through the tighter apexes. And so now they go into the switch. This is when you can choose which direction you go in. Once you've gone through the two red boys to choose your distance. And it looks as though Lora Markova has gone to the right side on this occasion. In race trim, you'll get riders going almost side by side, and one will go left, one will go right. And it's all about confidence after that point. So Lora Markova making her way round the final turn. The time to beat is a 1:06.887 set by Sara Zubarova. What has Lora Markova done for the first time? 1:10.4. So a little bit of time to make up then for Lora Markova. A 1 minute 10.492. What about Barbara Kolarova? What has Barbara Kolarova done in her first time? About 30 seconds disparity between Markova and Kolarova at the moment, of course. You can just about see Lotte Markova in the top of your screen going into her second lap, as finishing her first comes Barbara Kolarova. Very impressive opportunity then this for Barbara Kolarova. Definitely going to want to take full advantage of it. The 14-year-old from the Czech Republic. What is the time she's able to produce for her first run? It's a 1:10.1. So that shows you how quick Sara Zubarova was out of the block. So 1:06.887. So very good work indeed then for Barbara Kolarova and Lotte Markova so far. Sara Zubarova's time doesn't appear to be registering on the times though, so I'm not entirely sure whether that's a time that stands or not. But certainly for the moment, Barbara Kolarova has the top spot. A 1:10.198 compared to Lotte Markova on a 1:10.492. So 0.3 of a second between the two of them at the moment. There's still a bit of time to swap over between these two riders. The checkered flag is ready in the air though, as across the line comes Lotte Markova, does a 1:10.88. So it's not as good as the first run. So 1:10.492 is where Lotte Markova stays. So Barbara Kolarova is going to be quicker whatever happens here, because her first lap was quick enough to be a 1:10.1, almost 0.3 of a second quicker than Lotte Markova. So now it's just going to be a case of finishing off the lap time here for Barbara Kolarova, who will go provisional top spot in the women's qualification run. 1:10.492 for Lotte Markova. Barbara has already beaten that with a 1:10.198. What's her second round? A 1:09.9. So even quicker then for Barbara Kolarova. A 1:09.942. That is a serious benchmark for the other riders to try and take on. And it's a great start for the Czech rider, Barbara Kolarova. So as Lotte Markova makes her way back to the shore, so too, of course, will Barbara Kolarova, and it's the latter that has the top spot for the moment. And I'm not at all surprised the riders are choosing to fall into the sea at the end of their charge back to the shore, because it will cool them down big time in these conditions. You don't want to stay out in the sunlight too long in 42 degrees Celsius air temperature. The sand must be absolutely fiery. Now, the next run is going to be Polina Karpova and the Polish rider Rosalia Janora, who steps out of the junior category into the women's for 2025. So Polina Karpova, definitely one to watch out for, has had very good success in the past. So Polina Karpova trying to get a little bit more lap time out of it. Actually, that looks to me like Sara Zubarova getting another go. So Sara Zubarova, the first time run, I think there was a technical issue, which is why she's getting another crack at it. So that is, in fact, Sara Zubarova. So Barbara Kolarova's time of a 1:09.942. Now, of course, Sara Zubarova having had the run, but unfortunately the time not registering correctly. So let's see what one of the newest faces in the women's category can do at this point. So Sara Zubarova definitely looking very strong. Looking at how things continued for the riders last year. Of course, the women's category saw some very strong competitors last year. Eliska Matuszkova was the champion in front of Aneta Shtukalova and Eli Sharosova. Sadly, we're not going to see Eli Sharosova continuing on in the 2025 category, as far as I'm aware. Certainly not for the first round of the championship. Maybe she'll be back later on, but as far as I have been made aware of, Eli Sharosova no longer competing in the MotoSurf World Championship, certainly for 2025. Right, Sara Zubarova's time is 1:07.899, so that's not much different from what we saw from her earlier on. So this run is obviously going to be the legal one. And so Sara Zubarova definitely full of confidence, going quicker than Kolarova and Markova already. So a very good start to proceedings for Sara Zubarova. Definitely a hot contender in this year's World Games if she gets herself a seat, which of course she's already managed to do from the World Qualifiers a couple of weeks ago. So it's going to be fascinating to see how her 2025 race campaign now goes. But Sara Zubarova was one of the many qualifiers for the World Games a few weeks ago. 19 women qualifying for the World Games in Chengdu, a full capacity of 24 men doing so. And of course, in the World Games, it's very different to what we get in the World Championships, because they'll only be given one type of board all the way through. Here is the lap time then from Sara Zubarova. What does she manage to do? A 1:07.849. That is only 500ths of a second quicker than her first lap. So almost metronomic precision there from Sara Zubarova so far. So her official time then is a 1:07.849, still quicker than the pace that was set by both Lara Morkova and Barbara Khodorova. I don't think she's going to be given a third attempt to go for anything there. And she certainly doesn't need it, does she? What a fantastic run from Sara Zubarova to go fastest so far on a 107.849 on the second lap. So it's the second lap that's quickest. So it's going to be an interesting one as they continue to move forward. The next two riders, as we made a note of, are Polina Karpova. And we're also going to see Rosalia Janora, the Polish rider, continue on. I've just seen Eunjin Lee walk past me looking ready to run. So that is good news for her, the Korean talent. So Polina Karpova and Rosalia Janora, the Polish rider. There is young Rosalia. That is Polina Karpova. So Polina Karpova in the pink, black and white shirt to get her start under wraps. And she'll be out there, of course, with the red and white Polish colours of young Rosalia Janora, who is going to be chasing success this year. There is Rosalia Janora, who's getting herself dialed in and ready. She's got to do her warm-up laps so far. It was wonderful to see the competitors when I walked into the paddock this morning. A lot of them I hadn't seen since November. And to see so many handshakes and to get so many hugs from what is fantastic in terms of a community here in the UIM MotoSurf. There's a real passion and a real energy to see this sport grow, and it's been fantastic to make my way into the sport over the last 6 months. So Polina Karpova versus Rosalia Janora. And not only are they against each other, they're also against the clock and the times that had previously been set by Sara Zubarova. A lot of pressure at 42 degrees Celsius. 20 kilogram boards, 100cc engine that will output an output of about 15 brake horsepower in these lower categories. In the elites, you might be able to dial it up to about 18, but you're not going to get much more than that. Across the line then goes Polina Karpova, a 1:36.5, so a fairly slow opening gambit then for Polina Karpova. Hopefully her second run is going to be quicker. Certainly Rosalia Janora is putting a lot of intensity into this run. So I think we're going to see the Polish rider a little bit closer to the mark set by the Slovakian Sara Zubarova. Across the line to finish the first lap. What is Rosalia Janora going to do? It looks like it's pretty quick, to be fair. And she's come through on a 109.556. That's quicker than Barbara Khodorova. So that's immediately second place for Rosalia Janora of Poland. Good work from her so far. So now we're going to get to see what Polina Karpova can do, but she needs to hurry up a little bit here because she's actually in danger of being caught on the qualifying lap by Rosalia Janora of Poland, because her time the first time around was a 1:36.5. She's going to need to go a lot quicker than that. Otherwise, that 30-second disparity between the two riders is going to become pretty much minimal by the time they get to the finish line. So Polina Karpova, one of the newer faces in the women's category, still trying to work her way around the course. Still a fairly new talent, Polina Karpova. So again, she's learning on the job by going straight in at the top end. That's a tough mission for the 20-year-old. But Polina Karpova definitely getting faster as time wears on. Hopefully this is going to be a much faster run for Polina Karpova. She comes out of the final turn. She'll go through to the finish line, and not far behind at all is Rosalia Janora. So let's see what Polina Karpova can do for the second run. 1:31.041. Not bad at all. A much bigger improvement. But what is Rosalia Janora going to do? What does she do as she crosses the line? A 1:11.51. So her second run not as quick as her first, but that's still very impressive work indeed from Rosalia Janora of Poland. A 1:09.556. That puts her P2 at the moment. So second at the moment for Rosalia Janora, in front of Barbara Khodorova, Lara Morkova and Polina Karpova, and currently behind Sara Zubarova, who is still the top spot, the young lady from Slovakia. But Rosalia Janora, the 15-year-old from Poland, can definitely be very happy with the way things have gone on that particular run. It's a very good start to her journey for the 2025 campaign. And she can be very happy with the way that's gone, actually. She'll turn 16 in September. So very much in the beginning of her women's class category career, Rosalia Janora. But a great start. Two more riders venture out onto the course then. Dinara Ibragimova and Kristina Hybkova. So two more riders going after success and going up for the sharp end of the dais. So these are two riders, of course, that have had a very tough time of it of late, but neither rider actually qualified for the World Games. They're not quite at that point ready. Interestingly enough, Rosalia Janora did do so. There were 19 riders that actually qualified for the World Games in the women's category. Eliska Maruskova, who qualified last year. The other 18, Mariana Navarova of the Czech Republic, Sara Zubarova and Emma Stručilova of Slovakia, Chaijin of China, Eunjin Lee of South Korea, Mion Lee of South Korea as well, Gao Jiyin of China, Arancia Flores of Mexico, Miki Tori of Japan, Alaya Flores of Mexico, Li Shimeng and Yue Nijin of China, Rosalia Janora, who we've just seen go P2 for the moment in this round of the World Championship for Poland, Rihanna DeVoe of Canada, Laurine Tellin of Belgium, Jennifer Beckman of Germany, Anna Burke and Rebecca Smith of the United States of America. Not all of them are competing in this round of the World Championship, of course, but I do feel it's worthy of a mention because all of those riders are going to be representing their nations in the World Games in Chengdu in China in August of this year. And very well done indeed to all of them for gaining a qualification spot. Right, now we've got the battle out on the course between Dinara Ibragimova and Kristina Herbkova. Let's see what they've done. Well, immediately Dinara Ibragimova has done a 1 minute 30.685. That's quicker than we saw from Polina Karpova. And there is Kristina Herbkova. Expect big things from Kristina Herbkova in 2025. She's got full of confidence, massive speed, and she comes off of a fairly decent campaign last season as well. So Kristina Herbkova, obviously a real talent in the 2025 campaign. Did a great job in the junior girls category, was the champion, of course. So steps up along with Sara Zubarova and Lotta Markova to move up from junior girl. They also move up along with Barbara Korolova and Rosalia Janora. Basically, all of the competitors in the top 5 of last year's junior girl category have all stepped up to women's in 2025. So this is a big opportunity for Kristina Herbkova to really solidify her reputation. And she's already done a 109.445. Goodness me, that's good enough for second place for Kristina Herbkova on her women's class debut. Excellent performance so far. Waiting to see now what Dinara Ibragimova can do when she comes through to finish off her time. There she is, having gone through with Polina Karpova, both members of the Russian Federation. So Dinara Ibragimova will come through to finish off the time, and I think she's bailed out of this particular lap. Her body stance tells you everything you need to know about that one. She crosses the line, and Dinara Ibragimova finishes off with a 1:30.685. That's the time she'll get. But what about Kristina Herbkova? She might get a chance here. Oh, a little bit of a fall, manages to catch it on the qualifying run. But that shows you the intensity that Kristina Herbkova is putting into her qualification to try and find that little bit of extra pace. So not the easiest of laps there for Kristina Herbkova, but in terms of her ambition for 2025, she wants to go for the top spot. What does she do on the lap? It's a finishing time of 1 minute 10.560 because of the mistake we saw from her on that flying lap. But in terms of ambition, Kristina Herbkova has come straight out of the blocks and is wanting to go for the title straight away as a female competitor. Great work from all 5 of the riders that have stepped out of the junior girl category into women's for 2025. And so far, Kristina Herbkova, last year's champion in junior, has done a fantastic job to get onto the tail of Sara Zubarova. These two renewing their battle from last year. I wonder how much quicker there could have been there from Kristina Herbkova if that last little mistake in the switchback was just a little bit cleaner and tidier for her. There might have been a run for a 108 there, possibly even a low 17. We'll never know, but now at least we've got an idea as to how competitive Kristina Herbkova is going to be in 2025. The answer, ridiculously competitive. So her time is a 109.445. That's good enough for her to go second quickest, ahead of Rosalia Janora and just off the tail of Sara Zubarova. The next 2 riders, both from China, An Jihan and Yue Nijin. 2 riders who are going to be very competitive again in 2025, particularly in the case of Yue Nijin, because Yue Nijin, the Chinese rider, was one of the 19 competitors, I should say, who have qualified for the World Games in Chengdu. So definitely going to be wanting a good result on home turf in August. But before then, she's got a World Championship campaign to continue on with. And Jihan is one of the riders who did not get a qualification place for the World Games because they didn't attend 2 weeks ago. But some riders have got the World Games on their radar. Others are literally just stepping into the world of international competition in the World Championship for the first time. Let's see what Yue Nijin manages to do. A 1:12.6, that's pretty good going for the first run for Yue Nijin. So Yue Nijin, not a bad run at all. And now we get to see what An Jihan is going to be able to do. the Chinese rider, also on the course at the same time. So Anji Han is having a little bit of a hiccup there. A couple of the riders just getting ready for the second run. That's going to be Adela Ostrichelova and Natalie Kachelikova, who are next out in run number 6. We're on run number 5 at the moment for the two Chinese competitors, Yue Nijin and Anji Han. So there is Yue Nijin just working her way through the second run. Not entirely sure where Anji Han has gone. I wonder if she even got up to the starting line. Maybe didn't. So I wonder if Anji Han is a late withdrawal from the event. Sometimes we don't really find that out until we get to the qualifying run. But certainly for the moment, Yue Nijin, having started off on a 1:12.6, that's currently good enough for P6 in the run after Zubarova, Hebkova, Janora, Kalarova and Markova. So immediately Yue Nijin crossing the line, a 1:12.2. So that's an improvement on the second run then. But a 1:12.2.268. And that is Yue Nijin, currently up in 6th position, just in behind Lotte Markova, but ahead of Dinara Ibragimova and Polina Karpova. So not a bad start then for the Chinese rider. We have two more competitors heading out onto the course now. Adela Ostrichelova and Natalie Kachelikova. So some good performances so far from Adela and Natalie in the two practice sessions earlier today. And they're going to be trying to get themselves up to speed. The first one on the course then is Adela Ostrichelova. Competed in Italy and in Jeddah in 2024. So has definitely had decent experience on a tough course. Was desperately trying to clamber for any form of shade earlier on. Adela Ostrichelova, a very confident young rider, but clearly finding it very, very difficult to catch breath at times. That is Natalie Kachelikova, who is currently up to speed already. I think Adela is just trying to get the speed. There is Natalie. So it was the other way around, of course. So Natalie Kachelikova now going into the run, trying to find as much speed as they possibly can. And there is Adela Ostrichelova, trying to find her feet and get a decent time on the board. 1:07.849 to beat, of course, so far from Sara Zubarova, who was the junior girl vice champion last year. So has already put one over on last year's junior girl champion, Kristina Hebkova, by going almost 2 seconds quicker. In fact, only a second and a half quicker. Very, very close indeed, though, at the top end. So now we're going to get to see what happens as a result of the run there from Adela Ostrichelova. 1:12.473 for Adela Ostrichelova. Room for improvement, but certainly going well at the starting line for the first run. Here comes Natalie Kachelikova. So we'll see what she can do in the closing phase of the lap, as we keep an eye on Adela Ostrichelova, who's going into her second flying lap. They only get 2, so they've got to make them count, and they don't use the long lap, of course, in this particular run. Real aggression in the turns from Natalie Kachelikova, trying to find that little bit of extra speed on the board across the line and finishing off the lap. What can Natalie Kachelikova do? The lap time comes through, 1:11.954, so already quicker than Adela Ostrichelova and quicker as well than the Chinese rider Yue Nijin. So that puts Natalie Kachelikova in 5th place for the moment. Certainly a very good start to proceedings, but there needs to be a little bit more impetus now. So we're going to see if there's a little bit more to come from this particular group. Oh, sorry, no, Natalie Kachelikova is good enough for P6 at the moment. My apologies, not for P5. Has not gone quicker than Lotte Markova, but is currently in P6 on a 1:11.954. Adela Ostrichelova looking like she's gone quicker this time, though. Her time was a 1:12.473. It's now a 1:11.938, just a fraction of a second quicker than Natalie Kachelikova. So that puts her into P6 for the moment. But Kachelikova is still on her second flying lap. Going through the option there, basically. They either choose to go right or left. Both routes are as quick as each other, especially when you're out on the ocean on your own. So Natalie Kachelikova trying to find that little patch more speed. Right of the red, left of the yellow, and as they come off the final turn, this is where she's got to push a little bit more. So nearly in the water, but looking very strong indeed. Is that quicker for Natalie Kachelikova? It is. 1:11.487. Good run then from Natalie Kachelikova. A 1:11.487 for her, compared to Adela Ostrichelova, who did a 1:11.938. Just half a second between them, but very competitive in this part of the run for the ladies category. So Kachelikova is P6, Ostrichelova is P7, And that puts them right into the vanguard. Looking very exciting stuff in the women's class in 2025. But so far, nobody can get near Sara Zubarova. But then we haven't really seen the likes of Navarova, Stolukalova or Matuskova. They are the big names in the ladies category. Watch for them a bit later on. As now we've got the battle between Eunjin Lee, the Korean, and Valentina Novotná from the Czech Republic. These two riders going to be looking very strong indeed as they work their magic further forward. It's going to be a tough run for everybody so far, but at the top spot at the moment, it is Sara Zubarova, who looks very strong indeed on a 107.849. That's going to be a tough time for any of our ladies to beat. So Eunjin Lee of Korea versus Valentina Novotná of the Czech Republic. Both riders will want to get the most out of this run to try and push themselves further forward. Eunjin Lee, who had a bit of a problem with her ribs coming into the weekend. A lot of her riders saying, why would you risk that? Why are you going racing? And Eunjin Lee, who is a very proudly confirmed adrenaline junkie, said very carefully, look, I want to do this. I think I can do it. I'm good enough to do it. I'm going to give it a go. Oh, but there's some discomfort there for Eunjin Lee as she holds her ribs there. She's obviously tried to make it work in the qualification. What is her lap time going to be? So Eunjin Lee comes through, still pushing hard, a 1:12.6 despite the discomfort for Eunjin Lee. I'm very impressed indeed under the circumstances. But the 37-year-old from Korea, determined that she's not going to be put out of this weekend due to the injury. Valentina Novotná now pushing hard, trying to find that little bit of speed herself. So Valentina Novotná, one of the more established members of the community here, pushing hard to try and find that little bit of extra pace. The 21-year-old from the Czech Republic, what is her time good enough for? 1:10.488. So knocking on the door of the top four. So Valentina Novotná goes fifth quickest for the moment. But the big question is, can Eunjin Lee find any more on a qualifying run? You've got to go flat chat. Here is Eunjin Lee clutching her ribcage as she goes through, trying to find that bit of extra speed. Can she sustain this for a quick time? This is brave for Eunjin Lee. This is absolute gladiator Leviathan stuff from Eunjin Lee. Determined to go well despite the discomfort. Pushing hard, pushing hard. One more turn, Eunjin. Come on, finish off the lap. She gets through qualifying. What's the time? Is it quicker than a 1:12.6? It's not. It's a 1:12.7. But fair play to her for braving the pain and going through it anyway. Amazing from Eunjin Lee. And that time is good enough for 10th position. She should get the gold medal just for bravery on its own. And now Valentina Novotná, 1:10.488 to beat for her. If she can get into the 109s, then she's in serious territory. Out of the final turn, very aggressive off the corner, across the line. Is it going to be quicker for Valentina Novotná? 1:10.488 to beat. She doesn't make it. 1:10.73 for her there. But excellent performance from Valentina Novotná so far, regardless. So Valentina Novotná, 1:10.488, and Eunjin Lee, nerves of steel, a 1:12.631 despite the discomfort. That is absolutely extraordinary as everyone in the paddock is watching along on the screens. Good to see you live on the broadcast, everybody. Some of you still to run. Most of you still to run, to be fair, as we now go into the 8th run of the ladies category. Now we're getting into the major players of the women's class from 2024. Elizabeta Fajtova and Linda Lukscheider, the two Czech riders, definite front runners across the 2024 campaign. Expect big things from them again in 2025. So in the women's category, the champion, of course, last year was Eliska Matuskova. We're going to see her a little bit later on. Aneta Stolukalova will also go out in the same run as her on the 10th run. Eli Sharasova, who's not competing in 2025 to the best of my knowledge. Mariana Navarova was 4th in last year's competition. Emma Struchalova was 5th. And then it was 6th and 7th for these two. Linda Lukscheider and Elizabeta Fajtova. Oh, and down on the water. Well, that is the 75. I think that's Eunjin Lee finishing off. My apologies. So that's Eunjin Lee getting out off the board. But after the discomfort of her qualifying run, I'm not at all surprised that it's finding it a bit difficult for her to get back to the shore. I really hope that Eunjin Lee hasn't pushed herself too hard with that attempt at qualifying, because she's an incredible competitor and an amazing racer. I really just hope that she hasn't pushed herself to extremes there, just trying to get the lap time under her belt. So finishing off the first lap, that is Elizabeta Fajtova, 1:13.8. Hasn't quite found the pace yet. I have a feeling there's a little bit more to come from her on this run. So Elizaveta Faitova apparently is showing up as a DNF. So Elizaveta Faitova is showing up as a DNF on the run there. Not entirely sure whether that's an accurate time or if there's an issue with the rider, because Linda Lukscheider is still going strong here to try and find a little bit of extra pace as she comes through to finish off the run. Let's see what kind of time she comes up with. On her first lap, Linda Lukscheider straight up to a 109.8. So into P4 then for Linda Lukscheider, right behind Zubarova, Hubkova and Yanora. So a terrific start then for Linda Lukscheider, straight up into P4. Plenty of opportunities to progress and move forward. And I think there's more to come. But Elizaveta Faitova is showing up as a DNF. So I'm not sure what's happened there, but there is Elizaveta Faitova. Still trying to get some speed at the moment. But I haven't seen what the reason for the DNF on the first lap might have been. Maybe she missed a marker or something along the lines. But there goes Elizaveta Faitova across the line as we wait for Linda Lukscheider. Right, Elizaveta Faitova's time is a 1:11.434. So clearly she must have missed a buoy on the first lap, which is why it marked as did not finish on the first lap. But a 1:11.434 for the second run. So that puts her ahead of Natalie Kashnikova and Adela Ostrichalova, just off the pace of Lora Markova, who is now in 7th position, of course. But Linda Lukscheider is pushing for the pole here, currently on a 1:09.843. Can she find any more time as she comes through? 1:09.785. It's a faster run, but it's not good enough to put her into the top 3. So Linda Lukscheider, P4 at the moment, on a 1:09.785. Not a bad run, but I think there's a lot more to come from Linda Lukscheider in 2025. That is the suggestion that we get. But don't forget, these top three riders at the moment that have come straight out of the girls category last year, Sara Zubarova, Kristina Hubkova and Rosalia Janora, all very, very quick indeed out of the blocks, straight into the world of the women's category after their tout in junior last year, and very competitive indeed, very, very strong. Now, I'm hoping we're going to get the chance to have a chat with a few of the riders over the course of the weekend. We have got 2 headsets. If people do want to come and have a chat with us, then that would be very preferable. Right, the next 2 out on the run are going to be Emma Struchalova and Mariana Navarova, who were in the top 4 in last year's 2024 championship campaign. Sorry, they were 4th and 5th, I do apologise. The one that's missing, of course, is Eli Sharasova, who is not competing in the women's category certainly for the first round of 2025, but I'm not entirely sure she'll be competing full chat in the category this year. So still a very interesting competition for all of the contenders. Well, there's a lot more to come in the 2025 campaign from the riders. Still hoping for a very strong competition. So now we'll see what we can get from the competitors at the end of these qualification laps. So far, so good, though, from Emma Struchalova. What's her first initial time going to be good enough for? Let's see what happens when she pops up onto the board. And also, of course, Mariana Navarova is going to be working her way up onto the timing sheets as well. So it's the number 19 board that we're looking at there. That's Mariana Navarova. So Navarova hoping to get a fast time on the boards and showcase that in 2025 this is going to be her year, as Aneta Stukalova and Eliska Matuskova get themselves warmed up, ready for their qualifying run. So Struchalova and Navarova about to come through. There is Emma Struchalova to come through over the finish line. Where can she put herself in the mark? We'll see if there's going to be a chance for her to move up into the top 5 on her first time lap. Well, Emma Struchalova, for some reason the times are not updating on my screen. I don't know whether that's an error on the timing screen or not, but certainly the riders are trying to work their way a little bit further forward up to the sharp end. The times not updating as they went through the line there, so hopefully that will correct very shortly. But the checkered flag has flown for Emma Struchalova as well as for Mariana Navarova. Oh, and down into the water. That is how hard you can push on a qualifying lap. So easily done, as Navarova finds a little bit too much energy in one of the turns. And so now for the rest of this event, Mariana Navarova is going to be playing catch-up. It's going to need to be some overtaking moves that she'll need to do to get her form back. Such a difficult moment for Mariana Navarova. And with the times having not yet come up on the board and not updated, if her first lap wasn't a particularly competitive one, the second one certainly wouldn't have given her any further more. Let's have another look at it. Very deep in, just too hard in terms of the angle. She basically fell into the water rather than turned round the corner. So easily done. You just carry a little bit too much energy, too much lean angle, and the gravity just takes over at that point. There's that tipping point where you can just get a decent angle of lean on the board, but then once that becomes too acute an angle, gravity takes over and bang, you're in the drink. Such an unfortunate moment there for Mariana Navarrova, flirting with the limits of what a human being can do on a MotoSurf and finding out the hard way that she just went a little over. Right, the times have now updated on the screen in front of me, and it's just as well that Mariana Navarrova did that on the second lap because her first lap was good enough to go quickest. A 1:07.793 for Mariana Navarrova. Didn't get a decent second lap in, but at least she's going to be provisional top spot. Emma Strichalova, by the way, a 1:09.327, which is good enough for provisional third. Now, though, we've got the two queens of the sea last year. Aneta Stilkalova, vice champion, and Eliska Matuskova, reigning champion. And of course, the first athlete to qualify in the MotoSurf category of the World Games 2025 in Chengdu. So the two top-rated competitors in 2025 in the women's category, the last two to go out on the course. And they are going to go at it head-to-head. Stilkalova and Matuskova absolutely charging to try and get that top spot. It's going to be very competitive, the fight for pole position. Can anybody go quicker than Mariana Navarrova's time of a 1:07.793 that has just gone top spot for the time being? Pushing hard. Stilkalova fancies the chance to go onto the top of the rankings. Desperately trying to find that little bit of extra pace through the right. Desperately looking for that little bit of extra energy. Out of the final turn to cross the line. What is the first flying lap going to be then? As so far, so good for Aneta Stilkalova and Eliska Matuskova, the two great rivals of 2024, hoping to renew that rivalry in 2025. And particularly for Aneta Stilkalova, she desperately wants to take advantage of that initiative and move further forward. But certainly the 20-year-old from the Czech Republic, Aneta Stilkalova, wanting to showcase that she's got what it takes to step out of the shadows and into the limelight in 2025. What is her first time good enough for? Is it going to go top spot? No. Third quickest so far for Aneta Stilkalova on a 1:08.487. But what about Eliska Matuskova? What can she do with her first qualifying effort? It's going to be tricky to see how close they're going to be in terms of lap times. And interestingly enough, Aneta Stilkalova on 1:08.487, but what are we going to see from Eliska Matuskova across the line now? What can Matuskova do? Is it top spot? It's not. It's a 1:08.008 from Matuskova. So the queens of last year are being upstaged at the moment by the top talents of the junior category from 2024. So the two junior girl talents, Sara Zubarova and Kristina Hubkova, are right up at the sharp end, but Sara Zubarova's time is still good enough for second place. So at the moment, last year's vice champion in junior. Oh, and down goes Aneta Stilkalova. So easily done. But there will not be a second run from Aneta Stilkalova as she goes down in the drink. Such a good effort to try and get through that right-hander with as much lock on the lean angle as possible. But it was just too much. Yet again, gravity takes over for Aneta Stilkalova. Let's see what Eliska Matuskova can do. Can she make her way through? She's put her hand in the air. She knows she can't improve. And so that's it. The top spot for Mariana Navarrova. Here's a replay of Aneta Stilkalova. She just clipped the wave on the way through, and it spat her off the board. That is the nastiest type of fall for Aneta Stilkalova. And so on this occasion, Aneta Stilkalova is not going to get to the top spot. Eliska Matuskova, however, has done so. Her second lap was good enough for a 1:06.755, I do believe. No, that's an error on the timing screen. So it's an error on the timing screen. It becomes a DNF time. That makes more sense. So the top spot then, despite falling on her second run, the top spot goes to Mariana Navarrova. She starts 2025 with the top spot. And incredibly, in Group B, the top spot goes to Sara Zubarova, straight out of Junior Girl last year as the vice champion. And Sara Zubarova will start tomorrow as the top spot rider in Group B. So Group A, the fastest will be Mariana Navarova. Group B will be Sara Zubarova. What a start to 2025 in the women's category then, as it's all changed at the top spot. The top two riders, Eliska Maruskova and Aneta Stukalova, cannot topple the riders that eclipsed them. Sara Zubarova, junior vice champion last year, and Mariana Navarova, top 5 in 2024, but certainly not in the rank of getting the top spot there. Well, Eliska Maruskova goes for a second run, but it's not quicker, a 1:08.200. So it remains as it was, and Mariana Navarova therefore claims the top spot. Eliska Maruskova, a best time of 1:08.008, Aneta Stukalova, a best time of a 1:08.487. And so the top spot in Group B goes to Sara Zubarova, and the top spot in Group A goes to Mariana Navarova. A fascinating start to the 2025 season then in the women's category. There is your provisional classification. Mariana Navarova, top spot from Sara Zubarova. Eliska Maruskova in front of Aneta Stukalova. Emma Struchalova. Kristina Hebkova doing well on her debut in women. Alongside Rosalia Janora. Great start for her from Poland. And then Linda Lukscheider in P8 after a very strong run so far. So those will be the top 4 competitors in the groups. A fascinating start to the 2025 season. It really has been a very competitive kickoff in the women's category. Excellent stuff. And we're in for a magnificent season. Right, we're going to move on from the women's category now. And we'll now step into the vanguard of the junior category. So there's a few new faces in junior for 2025. And of course, there are 2 classes, for girl and for boy. And this competition is going to see a lot of great talents. Come the finals, the girls will be separated from the boys, but leading up to it, they will compete against each other. And the 2 riders that will get out first, Melanie Janhubova and Jakub Narochny. We'll also see Maja Zielewinska and Nela Pozhnikova, Ellen Berdova and Matthias Barvik, Stanislav Kohut and Max Hryska. And then finishing off the runs will be Oliver Wolf and Leo Lischel-Kratishvili. Those are the leading seeds going into 2025. Based on what they did in the boys and girls category last year, there's going to be some exciting talents to keep an eye on. Certainly in the boys category last year, the winning rider was Sebastian Kosteleczki, who steps up for this season, as does Adam Kular and Lucas Schneider. Mikolas Kosteleczki does too. So the leading seed going into this year is Leo Lischel-Kratishvili. The Austrian was 5th in last year's championship in the junior boy. So he is the favourite, but he's going to have some tough competition from the likes of Oliver Wolf and Max Hryska. Rather a shame that for this season, for the first round of the championship at least, we don't have the American talent Ryder Sawangwan. Rather hoping that we'll get to see him in action again later in the 2025 campaign. There are still 4 weekends to go, don't forget. So hopefully there'll be a little bit more from Ryder Sawangwan in the latter stages of 2025. So now the junior boys and junior girls will go out onto the run. Melanie Janhubova and Jakub Narochny. 2 of the competitors in the field from the Czech Republic. Only 2 riders in juniors this year are not from the Czech Republic. That's because this particular sport was born and bred in the fantastic country. So vast majority of riders in this sport and in this competition are from the Czech Republic, scattered all across the country, but mainly based around the 2 big lakes where MotoSurf essentially originates. The 2 other riders are Poland's Maja Zielewinska and the Austrian talent Leo Lischel-Kratishvili, who is the leading seed in the junior category for 2025. Melanie Janhubova and Jakub Narochny, 1 in the junior girl and 1 in the junior boy, making their way out onto the course for the moment. So this is very much deer in headlights moment for the young competitors who are getting themselves up to speed for the first time. A lot of hard work to do for these 2 young riders. There is Jakub Narochny. Great young talent of the future, this one, and certainly one to keep an eye on over the course of this weekend as he makes his debut in the World Championships. 14 years of age. As there is his opponent in this qualifying run. The very talented Melanie Janhubova. Only 13 years of age from the Czech Republic, finishing off her lap. Let's see what kind of time she brings out of the board. Don't expect her to be as quick as the women's category. But Melanie Janabova does a 1:28.072. That's the benchmark for the other juniors to try and replicate. Got to remember that the juniors, being a lot younger and a lot less experienced than the women's category, are not going to get anywhere near the same sort of pace. So don't expect massive things from the juniors in terms of the same kind of lap times we saw from the women's category. They'll all be trying to stretch out their strong performances as they run through. But certainly a very exciting start to proceedings then in the junior boys and junior girls. Here comes Jakub Narochny to finish off his first lap. Though Melanie Janabova's first time has actually been downgraded to a DNF, so I wonder if there was a buoy or two that was missed there on the qualifying run there from Melanie Janabova. It can be changed if the run is not quite as accurate as it's supposed to be. So here comes Jakub Narochny finishing off, crossing the line to complete the first time run. And Jakub Narochny's lap time is going to be a 1:27.260. Meanwhile, Melanie Janabova is trying to finish off a clear lap this time. Not easy when you're under the gaze of the spotlight in a World Championship event. It's very, very tricky to get yourself into a good position straight out of the blocks. But Melanie Janabova, not too far away from the pace that we saw from Jakub Narochny. Just needs to get that a little bit now tidied up. Across the line this time, what sort of a lap time has she been able to do for the second run? Melanie Janabova, 1:28.343. So a 1:28.343, but it's deemed as a DNF again for Melanie Janabova. So there must be a section of the course that she's not been able to polish off and has not been able to complete successfully. There is Jakub Narochny. So Jakub Narochny has 1:27.26 to beat. Just tidying things up nicely in the middle section, where you obviously get to choose whether you go left or go right with the two similar tracks. That makes for great dueling in the battle for supremacy when they race wheel to wheel. Well, I say wheel to wheel, it's board to board, isn't it, of course? So Jakub Narochny works his way through. You'll have to forgive little slip-ups like that. Coming from the world of race cars, I'm still getting used to life on the ocean blue. Checkered flag, though, comes out for Jakub Narochny. What is his time this time? He's got a 1:27.260 to beat. 1:24.173. Well, that'll do it. A 1:24.173 then for Jakub Narochny. And that sets the benchmark for all the other juniors to try and replicate and then beat. So a good start for Jakub Narochny of the Czech Republic. Melanie Janabova, unfortunately, none of her times are successful to get her to the top spot. So she'll have to wait for another opportunity in the heats tomorrow to put on a good show. So the next two to head out onto the course are both part of the girls category, Maja Zielewinska and Nela Pozhnikova. So the junior girls venturing out onto the course once again. So a lot of good work to come from these two youngsters. Maja Zielewinska only recently turned 14, the Polish talent. Definitely another great star of the future, I'm sure, along with Nela Pozhnikova, who has definitely been making good headway to begin her career in earnest in the World Championships. Will only turn 13 at the end of the season, so very impressive to see Nela Pozhnikova with a lot of opportunities here. Currently only 12 years of age, with a lot of experience to come for her, but certainly very highly rated and very highly reckoned is Nela Pozhnikova, with a lot of confidence for 12 years of age. So let's see what she's able to produce in this qualifying run. So there is Nela Pozhnikova, trying to find that little bit of extra pace to get a decent time on the board. Certainly looking pretty confident at the moment. But Maja Zielewinska has a little bit more experience than her coming into this one. Doesn't necessarily mean she'll be quicker, though. So the two riders working very hard to try and get that little bit of extra pace. So Maja Zielewinska versus Nela Pozhnikova. The time they've got to beat, of course, is that of Jakub Narochny of a 1:24.173. They qualify against the boys, but they're only separated into the classes come the finals on Sunday. Across the line then comes Maja Zielewinska. What is the first time going to be for her? 1:25.461. So not that far away from Jakub Narochny, in fact. So here's Nela Pozhnikova, 12 years of age from Poland. My apologies, Nela Pozhnikova is the Czech rider. It's Maja Zielewinska who is the Pole. So let's see what Nela Poznikova, just 12 years of age, what can she do to work her way further forward? What sort of time is she going to come up with? And she's gone quickest, a 1:14.9. Goodness me, 10 seconds nearly quicker than Jakub Narochny. That's all down to confidence. You've got to remember that these riders are learning on the job, and it all comes down to the speed and the confidence they've got within themselves. The boards will all go pretty similar in terms of pace, but it's down to the riders' confidence and the athletic discipline that these competitors put in with each other. Maja Żylewińska still learning the ropes, but what an amazing run from Nela Poznikova, straight in up at the sharp end, and a very impressive performance considering that Nela Poznikova is only 12 years of age. An exceptional performance so far, 1:14.9 to beat. A little bit of a slip up there from Maja Żylewińska as she goes through the left buoy, but trying to finish off the run with a tidy one. That looks pretty good to me. This is going to be an improvement, I think, from Maja Żylewińska of Poland. What does she do? A 1:22.925. That's much better from Maja Żylewińska. So 1:22.925. That puts her second in front of Jakub Narochny, but it's the pace of Nela Poznikova, 12 years of age from the Czech Republic. Definitely a star of the future. She comes across the line. What is her final time going to be? It's a 1:13.1. Can you believe it? Absolutely extraordinary speed from Nela Poznikova. 12 years of age and not that far away from being fast enough to be in the women's class. That is astonishing from Nela Poznikova. I think the gauntlet in junior has been thrown down in 2025. The 12-year-old Czech, Nela Poznikova, is definitely going to be a star in the making in 2025. My word, that is pace. So a very happy lady indeed. Nela Poznikova throws down the gauntlet. So unfair that she's too young to be considered for the World Games, because her pace, it's almost ready for her to step up. So the junior girls finish off in style, and now we're going to move on to the next two. Ellen Berdova and Matthias Barvik, one in the junior girl and one in the junior boy. So there is Ellen Berdova, just dialing herself in and getting her board up to speed and up to pace. So Ellen Berdova just looking for that little bit of extra intensity then to try and get close to the time of a 1:13.1. Goodness me, that's unbelievably quick from Nela Poznikova. Just confidence. There's no real difference in the boards between the juniors and the seniors. It's about how confidently you ride them. That's the difference in terms of the pace of juniors and seniors. All made of carbon fiber, all 20 kilograms in weight. The fuel tank is about 2 kilograms on its own with 3 litres of fuel in it. 100cc engines that can output about 15 horsepower. You don't need more than that with a surfboard. But the juniors are still very much learning the sport, and they're still learning how to find that ultimate pace. And the confidence that's been unlocked by Nela Poznikova, a 1:13.1. Is there anybody in the junior category that can even scratch at that surface? We'll have to find out as Ellen Berdova comes through. Well, she's done a 1:13.5. She's got a lot more experience than Nela Poznikova. So that's a very good start to proceedings then for Ellen Berdova. So Ellen Berdova looking good for another run. Didn't see Matthias Barvik out there on the course, so I wonder if Ellen is just on her own this time. I wonder if Matthias Barvik has not been able to get to the qualifying run. But certainly there's good opportunity here for young Ellen Berdova. Definitely making some good headway now. Born in 2013, only just recently turned 12 herself, of course. So some real talents in the junior category in 2025. Give them a couple of years and they'll be more than ready to make the switch up into the women's category. Nela Poznikova and here, of course, Ellen Berdova. Can she find another 0.4 of a second to put one over on Nela Poznikova? Ellen Berdova is the younger of the two, but certainly in junior girl looking so confident. Through the final two turns, a very direct and acute line through. Looks very comfortable, over the top, over the line. What can she do? Is it quick enough to go top spot? Yes, 1:12.819. So 1:12.819 then from Ellen Berdova, goes top in junior. Great start then from Ellen Berdova in 2025. And that is a very good performance from her for the time being. Matija Spartovic's first lap time, by the way, was a DNF. There is Matija Spartovic now, trying to get himself back up to speed again. But the 13-year-old is going to be turning 14 later this year from the Czech Republic. Hopeful that the second run is going to be a little bit cleaner than the first. He had some problems on the first run. That's why the first lap was registered as a did not finish. So Matija Spartovic just hoping that he can finish off the run. That is Ellen Berdova, by the way, just staying out of harm's way. Can't cross the course because Matija Spartovic is, of course, still on a hard-charging lap. But you can stay well out of harm's way by taking a wide trajectory and not getting crossed up in the course. Now you're going to see the two different directions that you can choose. And on this occasion, it is to the right that Matija Spartovic has elected to go. You can go left or go right, depending on those 5 boys that take you in a slalom, basically. So there's 2 opposing directions for the slalom. Matija Spartovic comes out of the slalom through the left and then through the final 2 right-handers. And then you can finish off the lap, Matthias. What is he going to produce? It looks like a fairly confident run. Is he going to be up in the top 3? Looks like he could well be. It is indeed 1:16.464 for Matija Spartovic. So 1:16.464 then for the young man from the Czech Republic. That puts him up another gear. Right, 4 riders left in junior in their qualifying session run. The first of those is going to be Stanislav Kohut. The second is going to be Maximilian Hruška. So with the 2 riders looking to bring themselves back in. That is Matija Spartovic just returning to the shoreline, having had a bit of a sluggish start to his season. Looks like a little bit of work for the 2 riders in the next group. Stanislav Kohut versus Max Hruška. 2 riders that ended their junior campaign in 2024 in a very positive light. And obviously you take that momentum with you and then you carry it into the 2025 campaign. So the 2 riders hoping that they're going to make a good work of it. But somebody's in trouble here. Well, that's Matija Spartovic returning from the course. But the other 2 riders are still trying to get themselves up to speed. Right now we're getting into it here. On a hard charging run straight away. This looks to me like Stan Kohut has gone for it. So Stanislav Kohut trying to find the ultimate pace. All of the junior girls have run now. And the fastest of those, of course, was Ellen Berdova, the 1:12.819. In pure pace, junior girl versus junior boy was actually fairly even in 2024. In fact, there were a few occasions when the girls were quicker than the boys. So anybody thinking that it's not right that girls compete at the same time as boys, well, the junior girls have actually been quicker than junior boys at times in 2024. And I think they could well be again in 2025. So that could start an interesting debate as to whether you can run the same race with boys and girls together. Obviously, in boys' classes, they have been a little bit more aggressive in the past. But if the women can hack it, why shouldn't they be given the chance to race them? So there is the pair of riders now in the junior boy category, Stanislav Kohut and Max Hruška. So let's see what kind of pace we're going to get from Stan Kohut. Just going to finish off the run then by tidying it up out of the slalom and then through this double right-hander to complete the course. Getting back on power to go across the line. Let's see what Stanislav Kohut is able to do. Is it going to be good enough for a top 3? It's good enough for the top spot. 1:12.69 for Stanislav Kohut, straight out of the blocks and up to the top. So Stanislav Kohut getting a 1:12.693. There is Max Hruška. So what can Max Hruška get out of the pace as he goes into the slalom? So he goes right at the slalom to begin his final part of the first lap. Got to keep it nice and tidy as you run through. Perfectly okay to put your left hand in the water and help you guide yourself around the right left-handers. But a lot of it is about confidence and pace, about what feels right. You can put your hand a little bit further into the water on right-handers, on left-handers, sorry, as you can see. Through the final right then for Max Hruška. His final run. Let's see what Hruška can do. Is he going to be good enough for top spot himself here? It's a 1:20.395, so not a great start for Max Hruška. I think he will want a bit more than that. So we'll have to see what happens when he goes into it. But certainly for the time being, it is Stanislav Kohut who has the top lap. A 1:12.693. He's going to finish it off now with the final turn. Can he go quicker over the line? He's already guaranteed top spot for the moment, but is he going to go faster still? We wait for the time to update on the screens. It's currently on a 1:12.693, and it is quicker, a 1:11.447 for Stanislav Kohut. So 1:11.447, he goes even quicker by a full tenth of a second compared to a full second quicker, than he had done previously. So very good stuff so far, and a really exciting beginning to his campaign. Meanwhile, through the slalom comes Max Hruška. So Max Hruška hoping to finish things off in a very confident style. So we're going to try and see if it's going to be all gravy for Max Hruška as he finishes off the slalom. His time to beat is a 1:20.3. Good enough for 5th position in junior at the moment, but he'd rather like to have a little bit more from it. So we'll have to see. These final two right-handers, he gets a very wide trajectory to come into it, but that carries a little bit more speed. Now out of that final apex, across the line, is he going to be quicker for Max Hruška to go bigger than 1:20.395? It isn't. 1:20.955 on that occasion, so he doesn't get an improvement. Stays P5 in front of Maja Žilevinska and Jakub Naročny. And so now the two leading seeds in junior for 2025. This is where the fight for the top spot is going to come big. Oliver Wolf versus Leo Lichard-Kratishvili, as the spectators in the paddock awning are enjoying the show. But who's going to get the top spot? Will it be Stanislav Kohut remaining on a 1:11.447, or can there be some pace to be found from Oliver Wolf and the leading seed from Austria, Leo Lichard-Kratishvili? Leo's father, Roman, of course, also competing this year in the Masters category. Not that he's had a lot of time to set his board up because he's been so busy focusing on Leo. He hasn't really done anything much over the course of this weekend. So now the top two seeds in junior, Oliver Wolf of the Czech Republic versus Leo Lichard-Kratishvili of Austria. Who is going to get the top spot? Or will it be neither of them? Will it go the way of Stanislav Kohut? We'll see who's going to get the top spot. It's currently a 1:11.447 for Kohut, having done a very solid job in last year's campaign, don't forget. So now we're going to get to see which of the two riders on the course has what it takes to go for the top spot. They're still warming up at the moment. I think there's a little adjustment that needs to be made with one of the boys. So while the course officials just work on that, time for these two to warm themselves up into a crescendo. So Max Hruška, of course, was 8th in last year's championship. So not a great start to him in 2025, having had a bit of a difficult one there to move his way further forward. Stanislav Kohut has come straight out of the blocks and done a fantastic job to kick things off. He had a very strong run, don't forget, in China, in Macau at the end of last year. So he can be very happy with the way things have obviously continued. 6 weekends for the title last year, only 5 this year because, of course, the 6th event is going to be the World Games at Chengdu in China. So Stanislav Kohut, who raced under the HKC Racing banner last year, looking for another solid run. Oliver Wolf of the Autozentrum Vyškov, the Czech talent squad, and the Jet Surf Factory rider from Austria, Leo Lichard-Kratishvili. Two great riders with massive potential to continue moving further forward. But what sort of the pace are they going to give us? Now that the course is ready to go, they can start to put on some speed. Right, on your boys. Oliver Wolf and Leo Lichard-Kratishvili start the run for pole position. Can they beat the time set by Stanislav Kohut of a 1:11.447 to go top of Group A? They will, of course, be separated into the two groups, Group A and Group B. So it's important to try and get the most out of this qualifying run. Oliver Wolf looking fairly confident. Looks like he's got himself off to a fairly tidy start. What's his first lap time going to be? Is it going to be quicker than Kohut? It's not. 1:14.924. So he's got a little bit of time to find out here on the course. Oliver Wolf, not quite going as quick as Nela Pozhnikova or Ellen Berdova, but certainly 4th position for the moment. Oliver Wolf looking quietly confident on the board. Looks pretty hungry for a little bit more from the second lap. The big question, though, is what is the big Austrian going to do here? What's Leo got up his sleeve? Leo Lichard-Kratishvili is going to have to come through and try and find a decent lap time as well. And Leo Lichard-Kratishvili is currently going through the slalom, so trying to go through the final 3 corners of the lap as we watch the top spot man trying to go through Oliver Wolf. Right, there is Leo Lischel-Kratishvili, the leading seed, the Austrian. What can he do as he comes through? What's his first time? It's not that quick, 1:14.496 from Leo. So he needs to find a little bit more time if he's going to be on the same sort of output as Stanislav Kohut. The girls have done a great job so far as well. Ellen Berdova and Nela Pozhnikova right up there in second and third. So these two young riders, the top seeds for 2025, they've got a bit of time to find. Fourth and fifth at the moment. Here comes Oliver Wolf. 1:14.94 to beat. What can he do this time? Is it faster? As we wait for him to come through. Yes, it is. 1:13.636 for Oliver Wolf. So 1:13.636, but it's only quick enough to go fourth quickest. It's not good enough to be top three. So we're going to need to wait and see what else we can get then from Leo Lischel-Kratishvili. There is the Austrian for the Jet Surf Factory. In through the slalom. He looks so much more confident on the second lap than he did on the first. I think he's got a little bit more up his sleeve this time. Leans in. Bashes the boy as he runs through. Leo Lischel-Kratishvili working very hard to come through. This is so much more authoritarian than on the first run as he tidies things up on the end of the lap through the final turn. Leo Lischel-Kratishvili, leading seed. Can he go into the top three? The answer is no. 1:15.308 for Leo Lischel-Kratishvili. He remains P5, and that means that the junior top spot goes the way of Stanislav Kohut. So Stanislav Kohut is the Group A pole. And interestingly enough, Ellen Berdova is the Group B pole in the junior category. Leo Lischel-Kratishvili does the best he can, hand on his hips. Fifth, that isn't what I wanted. So unfortunate there for Leo Lischel-Kratishvili. He's going to have to come back fighting in the heats over the course of tomorrow. But it's certainly a fairly tidy start. There is Oliver Wolf walking his way in. Not a bad run for him. Fourth position. Starts 2025 with a confident stance and plenty of opportunity to improve. So the Masters are just getting themselves ready now for the charge. And this is going to be an ultra-competitive category again, the Masters category for riders over the age of 35, I do believe it is. I think that's the cut-off point. And they've already started their qualifying run. That's going to be for Petr Božník and Efe Gürsoy. So that is the Czech and the Turkish rider. As off the board comes Leo Lischel-Kratishvili, the last of our junior runners. Not a bad effort from him, P5. There's still a lot more to come, I'm sure, though, from the Austrian, who is getting himself ready for another exciting charge in 2025. So as the Masters begin their journey for qualification, the pole position in junior then is provisionally confirmed as going to Stanislav Kohut on a 1:11.447. Ellen Berdova, second quickest. So it'll be a fascinating run. One boy, one girl up at the top end of the rankings. That's the way we like things in junior. So the first two riders then on the course are Petr Božník and Efe Gürsoy in the Masters run. There's going to be 20 riders in total competing in Masters this weekend. So plenty of opportunities for the riders to find the ultimate pace. There is Petr Božník. Works his way through the final couple of corners on the apex to complete his first timed lap. Let's see what we get from Petr Božník, who opens the gambit with a 1:10.918. That is pretty quick already from Petr Božník. So 1:10.918. Let's see if anybody's going to get quicker to that. Efe Gürsoy is, of course, going to be one to watch out for to try and get a similar sort of lap time out of the blocks. So the Turkish rider is currently working his way through the slalom. There is the qualification provisional for the Masters. Those are the riders you're going to see out on the course. Petr Božník, Efe Gürsoy, Andrei Atanasov, Ali Al-Hameri, Anji Chohong, Vladimir Mashlenikov, Pavel Matoska, Osman Sedat-Urus, Stanislav Ganishkin, David Božník, Ivan Matušek, Jiri Blaha, Murat Joganchila, Roman Lischel-Kratishvili, Radek Lučka, Jano Vankersbilk, Arkadiusz Janora, and then Petr Fatashek, Yuri Stovacek, and Kim Down, who's not just competing in the Masters, but he's also competing in stock. So 20 of the world's best then going to battle in the Masters category. Petr Božník has obviously opened the gambit with a 1:10.918 for his first lap out on the course. What are we going to see, though, from Efe Gürsoy, the Turkish rider? Could be some interesting performances from him to come. Over the line, by the way, comes Gürsoy. So let's see what Gürsoy's first lap time is going to be good enough for. Hasn't updated on my screen yet, but we've certainly got Petr Božník having done a 1:10.918. So waiting for that second lap to update as the competitors come through. But it is going to be competitive in Masters, especially if Petr Božník is going to come up with a 1:10.918. He's gone quicker than that, a 1:10.117 for his second lap. It's now updated, and there's Efe Gersoy on his second, which is a 1:13.891 for the moment. But certainly a 1:10.117 for Petr Božník. I'll be eager to see what Efe Gersoy can do to finish off. He ends and exits the slalom. Out through the left. And then the double right-hander to finish things off in fine style. Efe Gersoy looking pretty comfortable. But can he go quicker than a 1:13.891? That's what he saw the first time around. He comes through. He finishes it off with a 1:13.508. So a 1:13.508. A very emotional end to the run then for Efe Gersoy. That's the other thing I love about this sport. You get a lot of passion. You get a lot of emotion in the world of MotoSurf racing. And clearly a very personal moment there for Efe Gersoy to finish off the run and complete it with a 1:13.508. A very, very happy chap indeed, and a very good start to his 2025 campaign. I think he can be very happy with that. So certainly starting the Masters qualifying session in a good light. A lot of the other riders are choosing this opportunity, certainly from the women's and the juniors category, to head back to the hotel and get some peace and quiet and certainly stay out of the sunlight. It's very, very tough to be in this direct sunlight for such a long period of time, and I can understand completely why the riders would find it a need to get out of the sunlight. Now we got the next two riders. There is the first one, Andrei Atanasov of Bulgaria. So the Bulgarian talent is out there on the course. And, of course, we've also got the home favourite out on the course for this one. That is the United Arab Emirati, Ali Al-Hameri. So Andrei Atanasov and Ali Al-Hameri, they will be pushing to try and go for the fast time. The first man we're keeping an eye on is the Bulgarian. That is Andrei Atanasov, to try and find a little bit of extra pace in these first two laps. Trying to figure out where on the course at the moment Ali Al-Hameri is. We're currently seeing Andrei Atanasov going into the slalom for the first time on his first flying lap. Surely it isn't going to be too far away for Ali Al-Hameri to put himself into a fast lap time himself either. So we're just waiting to see. There he is, just going on the far side of the course actually. So it'll be Andrei Atanasov that completes the lap first as he exits the slalom. 1:10.117 to beat for Petr Božník's time. So what can the Bulgarian come up with on the first lap around the course? It was the second lap that was quicker for both Božník and Gersoy. Here's Andrei Atanasov. He completes the lap time, and it's going to be good enough for a 1:27.850. So it's not quite the same sort of pace that we were expecting from Božník and Gersoy. There is Ali Al-Hameri, racing on home sea, as of course he is here as part of the Fujairah Marine Club. And great to see Ali Al-Hameri getting a chance in the World Championship, competing for his nation's pride and honour, and doing a fair job of it on his first time lap at the moment. Should be an interesting challenge for everybody as they continue to put in an excellent showcase in the Masters qualifying run. Here is Ali Al-Hameri, comes across the line. Andrei Atanasov did a 1:27.850. What can Al-Hameri do? Well, he goes quicker, a 1:22.033. So now we're going to get to see what Andrei Atanasov can do with his second lap. He's going to finish off in fine style. He'll come through into the slalom for the last time of asking. And he goes to the left-hand side, interestingly enough. Totally under the preference of the rider. They can go to the left or the right-hand side of the slalom. There's no particular rule as to which one you choose. It all comes down to which one you're comfortable doing on the qualifying lap. Free choice and free reign on that one. But of course, once you've committed to it, that's the side you have to stay. Out of the slalom, final two corners then for the Bulgarian Andrei Atanasov. And we'll finish off the run and see what kind of lap time he creates. So 1:27.850 to beat. This one did look a bit quicker, and we'll find out if it was. He comes through, and he has gone quicker indeed. 1:27.165 for Andrei Atanasov. So far, every single rider's second run has been quicker than their first. We're going to see the same sort of form from Ali Al-Hameri. He enters the slalom for the second and final time. He decides to go right. This is the prominent choice that you've got to make in racing, of course, when you're up against all of your individual competitors. When you're following a board, you want to stay out of the white water as much as possible. So if you've got two of you fighting for the slalom, one of you goes right, the other one should go left to try and counter off any threat of slowdown in the white water. Out through the left-hand side, and then the two final right-handers then for Ali Al-Hameri, the Emirati, who will finish off in great style here, up to the checkered flag. He crosses the line. Is he going to go into the top two? Currently on 1:22.033. Well, he did a 1:46.267 on that one, so he lost a lot of time somewhere on the lap. So that means it's Ali Al-Hameri who remains on a 1:22.033. The time actually registers as a DNF, so there must have been a technical issue of some kind there for Ali Al-Hameri. But it doesn't change the fact that he is third position at the moment. The next two riders that head out onto the course are the Macanese racer Unga Xiaohong, and then we also have Vladimir Maslenikov, who will go out onto the course as well. There is Andrei Atanasov, just getting out of the ocean, as we watch the riders get themselves ready for the next charge out on the course. So the two riders from Macau and the Russian Federation. So this is an exciting opportunity for the Macanese rider Unga Xiaohong. Obviously got his opportunity in the World Championships on home turf back in November, but going into the 2025 season, he would quite like to make a full-time bid for the Masters title. And don't forget, of course, that the very talented rider from Macau is going to have a very competitive season working his way through, along with the others in the men's singles category. Not many of the riders in Masters did manage to get themselves a place in the World Games. For those who did miss out on the live stream from the World Games qualifiers 2 months ago here in Fujairah, the 24 riders in the men's category that did make it through. We've already listed all of the female competitors that got a place in the World Games, but the men who managed to do so are Lukasz Zahorsky and Alex Lukshine of the Czech Republic, Kim Min-song of South Korea, Jin Shu-lin of China, Marek Skamla of Slovakia, Kim Down of South Korea, Mark Andrews of Canada, the Chinese riders Liu Dijing and Zhang Maozhu, the Kuwaiti Hassan Bouabbas, China's Feng Zhanghao, Thailand's Yanton Vacharasak, Slovakia's Timotej Zubor, Japan's Daisuke Mamada, from Kuwait, Faraz Ramadan, from Sweden, Alexander Lana, from Poland, Arkadiusz Janora, from Cyprus, Mike Michalidis, from the United States, Anthony Squire, from Sweden, Hannes Hultberg, from the United States, Ted Berg, and then the final three, Germany's Sebastian Lux, Belgium's Jano Vankersbilk, and from Japan, Suguru Ikeda. So we're going to watch out for Unga Xiaohong. The Macanese rider's gone a 1:33.435 out of the blocks. Let's see what this young man, Vladimir Maslenikov, can do. Try to put himself into a competitive position to start the ball rolling for his 2025 campaign in MotoSurf. Hoping for an exciting charge forward. Looks like a fairly comfortable run in the slalom. It's interesting, the strategy in qualifying as well. A lot of riders choose to get a fairly simple and smooth run, not really exerting themselves until the heats and the finals, just to get themselves a time on the board. Others will be a little bit more daring and go for the top spot because they know that being in that top spot gives you such an advantage heading for the first buoy. And so Vladimir Maslenikov does a 1:23.565, almost 10 seconds quicker than that of Unga Xiaohong. So there is Maslenikov. Currently fourth position, only slightly off the pace of Ali Al-Hameri. So Maslenikov hoping for a little bit more time from the board. 1:23.565 is his benchmark to beat at the moment. There is Unga Xiaohong, the rider from Macau. Did such a good job on home surf at the MotoSurf World Cup. That's what I've elected to call it now. If it was cars, I'd call it home turf. But as it's boards, I've elected to call it home surf. Unga Xiaohong completes the lap. It was a 1:33.435. It's now a 1:29.237. That's a big improvement from Unga Xiaohong. And all you can do when you're racing against the clock and racing against yourself is find an improvement. And there's not many that will find more than 4 seconds from one run to the other. So here's Vladimir Maslenikov. His time to beat is a 1:23.565. If he manages to find another second and a half, he goes into provisional third place ahead of Ali Al-Hameri. Let's see what he does. It was 1:23.565. He finishes the lap. What is he going to do this time? It's a 1:21.136. So a much quicker time indeed then. And that puts him provisional third place. So still Paddock and Efe Gersoy at the top of the table. But Vladimir Maslenikov can be very happy with the way his run has gone to put him into third position for the time being. And Unga Xiaohong has come straight up to the shore and done exactly the sensible thing in 42 degrees Celsius heat. He falls off the board, and so too does Vladimir Maslenikov. Well, in this heat, you know what? I don't blame him. That's how you cool off after a qualifying run in MotoSurf. I'm surprised more riders haven't done the same, to be brutally honest with you. In these temperatures, a nice drinking in the sea is probably what the doctor ordered. So the next two riders to head out onto the surf then, Pavel Matoshka and Osman Sedat Arus. So the rider from the Czech Republic and the rider from Turkey. So Pavel Matoshka, the next rider to face the course, clockwise in diameter. And there is the 007. It's not James Bond, it's Osman Sedat Arus, of course. So the Turkish rider trying to get himself up to the mark and work his way through the S's on the first part of the lap, out through turn 3. And there is Pavel Matoshka, the Czech rider, hoping to try and get something fairly smooth out of this particular run. In the Masters category, of course, as long as you've got the ability to run at the top end, you can still make a good run of it. Very impressive indeed, of course, for Vladimir Maslenikov to go third quickest, considering he's 65 years old. And this man is no spring chicken either. Pavel Matoshka, 60 years of age and pushing for the top spot. He's got every justification to be very happy indeed with the way things have gone so far. So as Pavel Matoshka, the 60-year-old from the Czech Republic, comes through, let's see what kind of lap time he's able to come up with. 1:26.249, so not far away from Ali El-Hamedi. There is the talented Osman Sedat Arus, hoping to finish off his run. Careful! Oh, that's about as close as you can get to falling in without actually doing so. For Osman Sedat Arus, really pushing it through the slalom. He now exits the slalom, collects his thoughts, gets it back together. And is that him missing the lap? Yeah, it's missing a section of the lap there for Osman Sedat Arus as he tries to get himself together. So I'm afraid this is going to be a DNF of a lap for him, as he's now going to try again. The time comes up as a 1:21.858, but he did miss a section of the course, so indeed his time is deleted. Let's have a look at how he did that. Oh dear. That was very nearly a trip to the dentist for Osman Sedat Arus. He manages to stay out of the ocean, but that was so marginal. And unfortunately, as a result of that, it unsettled his lap. He had to miss a section of the final part of the slalom section. And as a result, he could not complete a legal lap. Right, here's Pavel Matoshka. 1:26.249 on his first lap. Let's see what he can do as he finishes off. Final couple of turns through the right. There's the finish line. Kick it on. Give as much welly as you can. Hand in the air to finish off. And he's done a 1:23.260. Not a bad run at all there. So 1:23.260. Not bad for a 60-year-old. Very impressive from Pavel Matoshka. Right, here is Osman Sedat Arus. First lap was disallowed for missing a section after a little fall on this part of the course. He nearly does it again in the slalom. Manages to catch it. This time, he is way smoother on the final section. This is going to be a better lap for Osman Sedat Arus. And so as the Turkish rider comes through, what is he going to finish off with? Anything above a 1:22 would be nice. But let's see what he does come up with. A 1:23.187, not bad at all. So 1:23.187, just a fraction of a second quicker than Pavel Matoshka. But that's much better after the difficulties of the first lap. So Osman Sedat Arus goes up into 5th position behind Poznik, Gersoy, Maslenikov and El-Hamedi. 8 riders gone so far. There's 12 to go in the Masters. So there's plenty more great running to come. The next 2 riders out on the course are Stanislav Ganichkin and David Poznik. So there is the number 63. That is Stanislav Ganichkin, hoping to continue on with a very strong run with the Martini Racing stripes on his board. You can have a little bit of fun and games if you are a competitor in these competitions. Great to see everybody in a good position out on the course, looking for a really solid run. very close into the buoy on that run towards the slalom. And there is his opponent on this run, David Požník of the Czech Republic. Looking for a very solid and smooth battle at the moment. Hoping for a little bit more speed to come from this section of the course. It's definitely going to be some good performances for the remaining riders. Oh, careful! That was a good catch from Stanislav Ganičkin. Another rider might have put that into the ocean waves, but he manages to survive it. There's a lot of passion in this paddock and a lot of thirst for speed, and I've always loved characters like Stanislav Ganičkin who ride the Martini racing straps on their board as their passion for motorsport as well as for racing on the waves. And up to second comes Stanislav Ganičkin, a 1:12.159. That shows you just how much energy he's putting into his runs so far. So Stanislav Ganičkin, P2 at the moment, 1:12.159. What about David Požník, who's looking fairly quick as well? In through the slalom. Looking neat and tidy. Nifty performance so far. So let's see what kind of pace we're going to get from them. Really solid effort at the moment. Just trying to tidy things up in good performance. Across the line. And across the line. What is the lap time from David Požník? 1:11.643. It's even quicker than Stanislav Ganičkin. So excellent display so far. But there's still a second run to come. And we're going to see a lot more from the competitors as they make a good showing of it. Riders still getting into their flow at the moment. Hoping for a little bit more speed and certainly a lot more fluidity. It'll be tricky to see who's going to get the most of it out of the two of them. But across the line then comes Stanislav Ganičkin, and he's done a 1:11.7, quicker still, but not quite enough to go quicker than Požník. It was close. It was a good effort, but I'm afraid it's still only good enough for third position for the time being. But David Požník looks even hungrier on this second run. The time to beat is that of Petr Požník, who did a 1:10.117. What could David Požník do? A 1:11.643 is the time to beat. Can he go quicker than his own time? And can he go quicker than Petr? Let's find out. Across the line, the time updates 1:09.932. It's the top spot for the moment from David Požník. Magnificent run as David Požník goes top for the time being. A 1:09.932, quicker than Petr Požník's initial opening gambit of a 1:10.117. He only gets there by just a whisker off 0.2 of a second, but that is a perfect start to his campaign in 2025. So we've got a new top spot then in the Masters category. That'll do nicely. And a very solid effort from the competitors so far. So great to have everybody joining us live on the stream, of course. I know that you're very eager to share your comments with us on the YouTube stream, but of course, as we are covering the races of minors as well as obviously adults, we do not have comments on the YouTube stream for safety reasons. I hope you all respect that for us. So now the next two competitors in the mix, having had Stanislav Ganičkin do a 1:11.729, a very impressive run from him, and having David Požník go provisional top spot on a 1:09.932. Now we're going to the second half of the Masters classification, and the next two riders, both from the Czech Republic, Ivan Matušek and Jiří Bláha. So there is Jiří Bláha getting himself into the qualifying run then for the first of his flying laps. They only get 2 goes around the course, so they've got to try and make the most of it. So far then on the top spot, David Požník on a 1:09.932. So let's see how it all continues. An interesting battle for all of the contenders at this precise moment in time. But now we're into the second half of the Masters classification. If you're just joining us, we've already had the women's qualification and the juniors qualification. We're still halfway through the Masters. We'll have the stock rookies and elite still to come. The Formula One of MotoSurf. Up the order straight away then. With the first lap on the board comes Ivan Matušek, who goes 4th position on a 1:13.178. There is Jiří Bláha. He's got a little bit of bounce to him coming out of the slalom. On the final couple of corners of the slalom, just wanting to tidy things up, neat and tidy. The Masters category, of course, all for riders over the age of 35. Still very competitive. Careful. Oh, he just got the biggest twitch there from Blaha, who really is pushing his limits. Good stuff. Not bad for a 56-year-old either. Across the line he's come, and he's gone straight up to P4. 1:12.372 for Jiří Blaha. So he's already quicker than Ivan Matušek. So what can Matušek do in response? That's where he's really going to try and find a little bit more. Ivan Matušek, the 47-year-old in the Masters category, certainly not want to get upstaged by Blaha. So David Požnik currently top spot ahead of Petr Požnik and Stanislav Gničkin. Jiří Blaha provisional 4th, Ivan Matušek provisional 5th. So these two have just managed to displace the Turkish rider Efe Gürsoy. What about Ivan Matušek? Could he go quicker on a 1:13.1? No, the second run not as quick. 1:14.209 from him. Here's Jiří Blaha. So Jiří goes into the slalom, goes left in the slalom. You're allowed to go whichever way you choose. You can choose left or right. They're both the same distance. So it all comes down to feel and fluidity. And Jiří Blaha, so aggressive on the boys as he comes out of the slalom. In through the left, in through the right. It's very easy to tell when you're at speed which way you've got to go. You've got to go right of the red and left of the yellow. Checkered flag, over the line. Is Jiří Blaha going to go quicker than a 1:12.3? He doesn't on this occasion, a 1:13.8, so he remains in 4th position. So that puts him very much up at the sharp end of the Masters qualifying, but there's still a little bit more work to do tomorrow. So when we've got the heats tomorrow, we're going to have some properly serious racing. With a gorgeous, glorious sunshine here in Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates, the only major city on the east coast of the Emirates. And there you can see a combination of riders who have already been and who have got their chance to come later on. All just trying to keep cool in the awning at the moment. It's the coolest place on the beach. So the green flag is in the air, and that is for our next two competitors, Murat Yoghancila and Roman Lisel-Kratishvili. So Ivan Matušek's time then was a 1:13.178. That puts him 5th position for the time being. Jiří Blaha on a 1:12.372. That's good enough for 4th position and 5th position for those two riders. Next up, though, Murat Yoghancila of Turkey and the Austrian, Roman Lisel-Kratishvili. There is Murat Yoghancila, racing in the sport with his son. His son, of course, competing in the stock category a little bit later on. But Murat Yoghancila, very talented Turkish racer. You do get quite a lot of these riders racing with their offspring. So if they're managing their junior boys, junior girls, or women or elite category riders, and they still want to race themselves, they'll usually go into the Masters category. So very impressive stuff from the riders, as here is Murat Yoghancila, 45 years of age from Turkey, putting in a solid effort. This is a rider who's clearly loving life and enjoying the sport he gets to share with his son. In a very similar boat, of course, to that of the Austrian opponent that he's up against here, Roman Lisel-Kratishvili, who also gets the chance to compete on the same weekend as his son. Managed to spend a fantastic night at the awards ceremony in Macau on the same table as Roman Lisel-Kratishvili, who gave me a massive crash course in the sport that night. I'm ever, ever grateful to him for it. And the 53-year-old from Austria has every chance of having a good season. Mind you, he said by his own admission, he's not expecting much from today because he spent all day tuning his son's board. He's not really done anything to his own. That's the problem when you race with your offspring. You want to do a good job by them. You kind of negate your own performance. So it's swings and roundabouts. And up to 3rd comes Roman Lisel-Kratishvili with a 1:10.510. That's a good starting bank for him. Excellent work so far. There's more work to do, of course, but that's a very good opening gambit for Roman Lisel-Kratishvili. So Murat Yoghancila's first lap time is currently good enough for 8th quickest. He's not quite as quick as his countryman Efe Gürsoy, but he has a chance to do it. He goes right at the slalom. Then you've got 5 apexes here, left, right, left, right, left, and then you go back out of the slalom section. So that's the final apex, out of the slalom, then through the left, and then you'll get a double right to finish off the lap. But this is all going to be very neatly timed here for Murat Yoghancila. Can Yoghancila get a decent run? Is he going to go quicker than himself as well as go quicker than Efe Gürsoy? He beats himself, 1:16.769, but it's not good enough to go quicker than Efe Gürsoy from earlier on. So that is Murat Yoghancila in a provisional 8th place. But here comes Roman Lisel-Kratishvili. A fantastic competitor. He's on a lot quicker this time. It was a 1:10.51. What can he do this time? Can he go quicker still to go to the top spot? Roman Kratishvili, 1:10.148. He misses second place by 0.03 of a second. So close to the top. Roman Kratishvili, third position, but there's literally hundredths of a second in it. So agonizingly close for the Austrian. He can be happy with that. Third position at the moment in a very competitive field. So Roman Kratishvili finishes off on a 1:10.148, just 0.03 of a second off the pace of Petr Požník. So just 6 riders to go then in Masters. They go 2 at a time, of course, in qualifying. Radek Lučka of the Czech Republic and the Belgian sensation, Jano Vankersbilk. So there is Radek Lučka. He's trying to steady himself in position. Last year was a very competitive category in the Masters run. We had a very exciting season. Kim Down was the champion in front of Denny Kostelečki. Roman Kojon, who is not here this weekend, Jiří Stovacek and Petr Faltisek. There's a lot of riders that were sort of on the outer skirts of the top 10 last year, such as Radek Lučka, Roman Kratishvili and Murat Jogancila, who now have the chance to move forward. They run this weekend in the reverse order of their ranking going into this weekend, and that is the ranking based on last year, the 2024 season. Over the line for the first time lap comes Radek Lučka. So Radek Lučka will continue his run. What about Jano Vankersbilk? Here is Vankersbilk, the Belgian star. Oh no, sorry, this is Radek Lučka. My apologies. Vankersbilk is now on the other side of the course. So Radek Lučka will finish off this run. So to finish off in a very smooth end to the lap here for Radek Lučka. Wait to see what the time is going to give him to start the ball rolling. But certainly a very smooth effort to begin things. Radek Lučka should be around the same sort of mark as the Požníks and Roman Kratishvili. But the opening gambit, well, interestingly enough, the opening gambit for Radek Lučka is only a 1:18.5. There's a bit more time to find then. But here is Jano Vankersbilk. Expect to push for the top spot here from the Belgian. There's still 4 riders to come after him. Arkadiusz Janora, Petr Faltisek, Jiří Stovacek and Kim Down. But I still have a fancy. Jano actually slaps the air as he goes across the line there to give himself that little extra motivation. And a 1:10.242 for his first time run, right on the whisker of Roman Kratishvili's time. So I think there's still more to come from the Belgian, and I think there's a fair bit more to come from this man, Radek Lučka, on the second run. Works his way then through the final section of the course, in through the slalom. The sun dancing off the ocean waves, a lot of fish in this particular area. I was watching in the marina last night when I went for a nice stroll to tire myself out and get myself on the right time zone. There's a lot of marine life here. It's a beautiful part of the United Arab Emirates. I wonder how many of the fish are keeping an eye on this. Across the line, finishing lap from Radek Lučka, 1:18.593 to beat. What can he do? 1:15.950. He goes ahead of Murat Jogancila. But I think he would have wanted a little bit more than that. Here comes Jano Vankersbilk, though. If he can find 0.3 of a second, he could go top spot. That's not a lot of time to find in the grand scheme of things, but it all comes down to confidence for Jano Vankersbilk. Out of the final turn, it looks good. He slaps his hand on the ocean floor to get the lap time. Has he gone quickest? He has! 1:09.561. It's mighty for Jano Vankersbilk, and the Belgian goes top spot, 1:09.561. So he got it nice and calm in the first lap, but he really kicked up his higher power in the second lap. And the Belgian, Jano Vankersbilk, goes top spot. Let's have a look at it again. This is his style as he goes across the line. Look at that. Almost hits the ocean floor as he crosses the line. That's a little personal motivation, I guess, for Jano Vankersbilk. They all have their own unique style. And Jano Vankersbilk goes top in Masters for the time being. We've got 4 more riders to come. So the next 2 for Poland is Arkadiusz Janora, and for the Czech Republic, Petr Faltisek, the number 3. And he is, of course, the number 3 seed coming into this season. There is Arkadiusz Janora, whose daughter Rosalia did a fantastic job in the earlier qualifying session for the ladies category. Only 15 years of age and right up into the top 5 of the women's class. So what can Arkadiusz Janora do to emulate his daughter? And there is Petr Faltisek, top 3 in last year's competition. Hoping to continue his fantastic berth. So Arkadiusz Janora, who of course is going to be watched on by his daughter. Rosalia did a fantastic job in her qualifying run in the women's category, just 15 years of age, Rosalia Janora. But look at the aggression that Arkadiusz Janora, the 41-year-old, is putting into these turns as he comes off the slalom. Really kicking on a pace. This could be a very strong year for Arkadiusz Janora. Let's see what he does as he comes across the line. Is he going to go top 5 with this? He goes top! 109.432 from Arkadiusz Janora. Full of aggression, full of fire, and goes straight to the top spot. Arkadiusz Janora means business in 2025. But what about Petr Faltasek? He's going to be wanting to go for the top spot too. Through the slalom. So Petr Faltasek looking a little bit smoother than Arkadiusz Janora, but smooth can be faster. Let's see what he does as he comes off the final turn. It may look slower, but it might be quicker. Let's see what he does as he comes through over the line. The lap time updates, and it's not a fast start for Petr Faltasek, 1:13.373. So I wonder if he's quite in the zone or whether there's not quite the same sort of fluidity with the board that there should be. But look at Arkadiusz Janora in through the slalom again. And he is attacking every single boy with determination and gusto. Out of the slalom, in through the left, bounces the boy. And this is Arkadiusz Janora going for the top spot. This could be a mighty lap from Arkadiusz Janora. Out of the turn he comes. 194 to beat. What has he done? He manages to come through with a 109.59, so it's not an improvement. But I tell you what, Arkadiusz Janora means business in 2025. Top spot for the moment. Attacking those boys like they're Oreos. Absolutely amazing. And through comes Petr Faltasek. Let's see what he can polish off. Out of the slalom, he will come into the left. And then the final 2 right-handers to get to the finish line. Petr Faltasek wanting to finish up tidy. 1:13.3 to beat. What is his second lap time going to give him? It's going to be an improvement, I'm sure. And it is a 1:12.819. So 1:12.819 for Petr Faltasek. That puts him just off Jiří Bláha's time by half a second. That only puts him 8th, actually. I would have expected a little bit more from him there. A top 5 could have been possible. Maybe he'll bounce back. Now the crowd roars as the 2 big names of the Masters class go to battle for pole position. Jiří Stovicek of the Czech Republic and the reigning champion from the Republic of South Korea, Kim Down. So Kim Down is the only competitor this weekend who is actually racing in 2 classes. Everybody else has decided to be, inverted commas, sensible and only run 1 class. But Kim Down does things very much his own way. There's a huge cheer gone up on the shore for Arkadiusz Janora coming in, having got a beautiful time of a 109.432. It's actually going to be hard for both Jiří Stovicek and Kim Down to beat that. That could be a pole position for the pole. Big embraces, big hugs on the shoreline for Arkadiusz Janora. And that might be overall pole. It'll be hard for Stovicek and Down to beat him. Very different sport going on the far side of the course. For goodness sake, don't invade us. And they haven't done so. They've stayed well away. Thank you, boys. The Fujairah Marine Club, all sorts of sports going on over the course of the weekend. So across the line then has come Kim Down to start his flying lap. Here is Jiří Stovicek. This is a big opportunity for him. He was 4th in last year's campaign. Arkadiusz Janora was only P6 in the championship. But we had Petr Faltasek, who was 5th in last year. Jiří Stovicek, who was 4th. We don't have Roman Kojon or Denny Kostelečki in this year's category. But Kim Down is the reigning champion. He's going to be the one to watch. A 109.432 to beat for Arkadiusz Janora's time. Here's Jiří Stovicek. What's his opening gambit going to be? The first lap. It's only a 1:12.26. So Jiří Stovicek's got to find another 3 seconds for the lap to try and get to the top spot. Here is Kim Down, the reigning champion in Masters, trying to find that little bit of extra pace. He's had a little bit of a tricky slalom. He almost goes in. So this is looking great for Arkadiusz Janora. Kim Down is almost down in the drink. He had a fantastic end to 2024, but he's really on the back foot in 2025, so nearly falling off several times in the end of the lap there. As Kim Down comes through, his lap time is a 1:10.92, so he's got another second and a half if he wants pole position to find. Here is Yuri Stovacek, currently running in 8th place. Needs to find another half second if he wants to beat Stanislav Kanichkin, but he wants more than that. Yuri Stovacek finding the course, very tricky in the slalom, comes out of the slalom, in through the left, a face full of boy. Out through the right-handers. So what is Yuri Stovacek going to do? Even a second's improvement would be big for him under the course as he currently comes through. 1:12.266 to beat. What does Yuri Stovacek do? That's more like it, a 1:10.355. But it's not pole position. So Yuri Stovacek just off the pace of Roman Nishil-Kratishvili by 2/10. But here's Kim Down, reigning Masters champion. Can he find the pace to get ahead of Arkadiusz Janora? Will the pole position go to South Korea or will it go to Poland? We're about to find out. Kim Down, final 2 corners, across the line. Who's going to get the pole? We wait for the time. And it's Kim Down. He's done it. With a 1:07.184, massive final run from Kim Down. He always seems to find it when the chips are down and he's up against the wall. Kim Down of South Korea, reigning champion in Masters, finds the lap in the very last run. Excellent performance from Kim Down of South Korea, almost 2 seconds clear of Arkadiusz Janora. Absolutely astonishing. Jan Vankersbilk 3rd from David Poznik. Petr Poznik is 5th from Roman Nishil-Kratishvili. Yuri Stovacek 7th from Stanislav Kanichkin. But Kim Down starts his 2025 World Championship campaign with a Masters pole position in the Fujairah Grand Prix. Absolutely fantastic. Commiserations to Arkadiusz Janora, but he will be starting in 1st place in Group B for being 2nd. Kim Down will go fastest in Group A, so there's still plenty to play for over the course of this weekend. We've got 2 days of racing ahead of us, don't forget, on Saturday and Sunday. What a great start, and a fantastic charge forward again from Kim Down. He just always finds the pace. So now we've got 2 more categories, although we've got 2 categories in one now for the stock and stock rookies. So the riders we're going to get to see, Adam Kolar will go out on his own as part of the Stock Rookie and Merlin Plus class. Ender Yoganshila and Adam Ficek, Abdullah Al-Balushi and Suchi Long, Jan Matoshka and Ismail Kaptanoglu, Mohamed Al-Tamimi and Zhang Maozhu, Han Tahi and Danton Wangrungurit, then Hannes Hultberg and Jan Travnicek, Lorenzo Tanda and Marislav Kopch, Adam Janosec and Hassan Boabas, Damian Kadlec and Anthony Squire, David Kichka and Mike Michaelidis, and then the top 2, Faraz Ramadan and that man again, Kim Down. So off we go, and it's the Lone Ranger for the first run, the young Czech, Adam Kolar. So if we're talking about these classes in relation to racing cars, the stock category is basically to MotoSurf what IndyCar is to motorsport. It's pretty quick, and they all run the same boards, so it's a very equal competition. It all comes down to who basically gets it right on the day. They all have the same stock boards. The reason it's called stock is essentially you open the box, you take it out, and you race it. You don't do anything else to it. No other adjustments, no tweaks, no fixes, nothing. You just race it as it comes out of the board. And they're all the standard same bit of kit. So it essentially comes down to who has got the nerve and the tenacity to go racing as fast as possible around the course when it's come straight out of the box. All the engines are sealed. The fuel tanks are obviously standard. The fuel tanks, when they've got 3 litres of fuel, them are 2 kilograms extra. So it's 20 kilograms of board going racing at a top speed, incredibly, of 70 kilometers an hour. Not that they'll hit 70 kilometers an hour on this course, because there's no major back straight on this one. Even the long lap here doesn't really have a particularly intense back straight. We'll talk about the long lap tomorrow because we're not using it today. Because and into the drink goes Adam Kolar after his first lap of 1:11.365. So just pushing a little too hard into turn 2. Gave it his best shot, tried to find a little bit more, and I'm afraid it all went wrong. Let's look at it again. Oh, it's the front end that catches him out. He tries to correct it, and it throws him a kilter. So Adam Kolar goes straight into the drink, so he will finish up on a 1:11.365. What a shame. I think there was a little bit more in him than that. So he'll be frustrated, but that is how easy it is to go down. There is Adam Kolar getting himself back to finish the course. I think he's asking to see if there's an option to go and get a third run, because you can take a third lap in certain circumstances, but I'm not sure that's going to be one of them. Falling, I don't think, is different. I think they only go for a third one if it becomes very nice indeed to if it gets impeded on the lap. So it's going to be an interesting one to continue moving forward. So now the competitors getting themselves close to the mark as they run around the course, trying to find a little bit of extra. So now Adam Kolar's time of a 1:11.365 is the benchmark to beat, and the two riders that will try and go after that are, the second time Adam Kolar did actually finish the lap. He did a 1:40.730. He wanted to get up and finish the lap and see if he can go for a third one, I think, is the reason he wanted to try that. Meanwhile, we've got the two runners behind. That's Ender Jorgenschila and Adam Ficek, who are now going to go for their qualifying run to try and find a little bit more pace, as a rather disgruntled Adam Kolar comes back to the shoreline. Was really hoping for a little bit more than a fall on the second lap. So Ender Jorgenschila and Adam Ficek are the next two to try and find the pole position in the stock category. Now, I should point out that there are a few riders in this particular class. There are 7 of them who are in stock rookie. Now, those 7 will get their own final on Sunday, but they will race together in the midst of the qualifying sessions in the stock category. So we've got 12 groups. That's a full total of 23 riders, 7 of which are in the stock rookie category, which means that there are 16 in the stock category in total. It's our most subscribed class, I think, other than the ladies category. So it's going to be fascinating. Oh, other than the Masters category, of course. I should point that out. They have 20, and they actually have the most, because the women's have 19 contenders. The juniors have a grand total of 10, although that is actually made up of 6 boys and 4 girls, and they will be separated for their final on Sunday. The stock category has a grand total of 23, although 7 of them are in Rookie Plus, so that takes them down to 16 for stock. And then there are 10 competitors in the elite category, which is the Formula One of MotoSurf. If any of that made sense, by the way, I probably wasn't telling it right, but I gave it the best shot I've got anyway. Ender Jorgenschila's opening lap is a 1:21.6, about 10 seconds away from the pace of Adam Kolar. Keep it upright! Goodness me, that's how easy it is to drop it. Oh, Adam Ficek finding out the hard way in the slalom that you really can make a mess of it. He manages to stay upright, though. Fair play to Adam Ficek. A lot of riders would have fallen that, so it could have been a very tricky moment for him. But as he completes the lap, it's scrappy, but nonetheless effective. It's going to be a quick one for Adam Ficek, I think, as he comes through to get his first lap time on the board, and it is a 1:08.369. That's why he was being so aggressive in the slalom. So Ender Jorgenschila just finishing off his run here. Still very much in the birth of his career up at this level. Ender Jorgenschila, just 16 years of age going into the rookie Merlin Plus. So we'll see how it all continues on for him, but certainly for Ender Jorgenschila, a 1:21.6 is what he's got to beat. Essentially, the best way to go about this is to make sure that you beat your own lap times. Here comes Ender Jorgenschila. His second run looked like a good one. What was it in comparison to the first? He did a 1:21.6 initially, a 1:18.67, so that's much quicker from Ender Jorgenschila. All you can do is go better than your first run and hope that it's good enough to find ultimate pace. But here comes Adam Ficek. He really wants a strong stock qualification here. He comes through, finishes up, almost slaps the sea himself with a lap time, and it's a 1:06.777. That is a big, big lap. So Adam Ficek throws down the gauntlet to everybody else. Catch me if you can. So Adam Ficek starting in fantastic fashion in 2025. And let's not forget, of course, that he had a fantastic run last year. Adam Ficek full of confidence and full of competition last year. So did a fantastic job in the build-up to 2024. Has had a really strong competition of late. He was in the rookie category last year, was third in the championship behind Denis Duchelek and Faraz Ramadan. So stepping up into the stock category for real, a 106 treble 7. That's big. That's mighty big. So now the next two go to battle for the United Arab Emirates. The home favourite in this class, Abdullah Al-Bloushi. And for Macau, it is Su Chi Leong. A lot of expectation on the shoulders of Abdullah Al-Bloushi. A couple of races competing from the Middle East this weekend. We've got 3 riders in the class from Kuwait, Faraz Ramadan and Hassan Bouabbas, to name just 2 of them. Mohamed Al-Tamimi is the new face on the grid. But both of those 2 riders, Faraz Ramadan and Hassan Bouabbas, very competitive and likely to be favourites for the title this year in both the stock and stock rookie category, respectively. But it'll be fascinating to see what the riders can do as they go for it. Here's Abdullah Al-Bloushi starting his time run. Su Chi Leong of Macau about to start his as well. So there is Abdullah Al-Bloushi making his way to the slalom for the first time. Looking very confident as he runs in the colours of the United Arab Emirates. Through to the slalom, he's gone to the left side. You can see the waves rippling on the top of the water there, and it is very tricky to make sure you nail those corners at the right moment, which is a very difficult science to get right. All it takes is one slight cancellation of an adjustment of an apex, and you can go straight in, nose first, without any warning at all. So here comes Abdullah Al-Bloushi. The time to beat in rookie is a 1:11.36. The time to beat in stock is a 1:06.777. So what does Abdullah Al-Bloushi do? 1:36.409. Still learning about life in the stock category for the time being, as a very happy Jano Vankersbilk comes past my position in the commentary booth, punching the air. Very happy man indeed. What a great start to 2025. So there is Abdullah Al-Bloushi. We're going to wait to see what the time is like for Su Chi Leong, the Macanese rider, who's now gone through on the other side of the course, trying to come through. There is Su Chi Leong across the line. What's his opening time going to be? So Su Chi Leong comes through for a 1:29.968. It's a reasonable start. They need to find a little bit more time if they want to get up to the sharp end. But for the moment, Abdullah Al-Bloushi just happy to represent the United Arab Emirates on home surf. I would normally say home turf, of course, but we're talking home surf here. In a year where, rather sadly, none of the competitors from the United Arab Emirates have been able to qualify for the World Games in Chengdu. Oh, and down goes our home favourite. Abdullah Al-Bloushi gets it slightly awry in the slalom, and it's so easily done, and that could actually affect the run of Su Chi Leong. Such a close call there, as Su Chi Leong still going on the far side of the course, provided that Abdullah Al-Bloushi can actually work through quickly and clear the course, then Su Chi Leong's not going to get held up too much. And well done to Abdullah Al-Bloushi, who does manage to recover fairly quickly. And he's going to complete the course, so that does not affect the lap time of Su Chi Leong. But now it's time for the Macanese rider. Sadly, there's not going to be an improvement then from Abdullah Al-Bloushi. He won't get the chance to do a second run because it was his own mistake that cost him the lap there. So a 1:36.409 for Abdullah Al-Bloushi. But what can Su Chi Leong do? He's going to come through. It looks a little bit quicker than his previous run, I have to say. Finishes off, and it's a 1:29.968 to beat. He does a 1:28.175. Here's what happened to Abdullah Al-Bloushi. Oh, so easy. So easy to lose control there. Just caught the wave at the wrong angle, and it was so easy to chuck the board in to the drink at that angle. Nothing doing, I'm afraid. So Abdullah Al-Bloushi has to settle for the fact that his time is a 1:36.409. Great to see everybody watching along in the in the awning. Check out my abs. Shall we focus on the MotoSurf? Excellent stuff. We've got 2 riders out on the course. That is Jan Machoska and Ismail Kaptanoglu. So the Czech rider, Jan Matoška, definitely one to keep an eye on in 2025. Certainly made an interesting wave of events last year. Started his career in the World Championships in 2025, I do believe. So Jan Matoška looking for a decent run in the 2025 campaign. And also out there, İsmail Kaptanoglu. So the Turkish rider with plenty of opportunities to make steady progress in the 2025 season. Hoping for a little bit more of a run this season. Now, of course, when we talk about the championship fight, last year it all came down to the likes of Kim Min-song, Kim Down and Anthony Squire. But so far, it's not quite been perfect sailing for Kim Down. He's had a fantastic run, of course, to the pole position in Masters, but it's going to be tough in stock to maintain that level of pace. Sadly for Kim Min-song, he's not here over the course of this weekend, so that's the man who won last year's championship. So Kim Min-song, I would have liked to have seen him continue to make that push to move forward, but it's not been the case so far. So now we watch for the progress and the path of the two riders that are going to try and go for the top spot. So far for Jan Matoška, 1:14.4. There is İsmail Kaptanoglu. So as İsmail Kaptanoglu tries to work his way forward in the hope that the number 53 board is going to get its way through, although technically he races as number 53, but as other riders have that number, it's now 0530 officially on the entry, just to make it work out. İsmail Kaptanoglu, what is his first time going to be good enough for? He missed a section of the course there, so it registers as a DNF. He's got to try and get a tidier lap the next time. There is Jan Matoška, third so far, 1:14.4. Getting pretty aggressive, though, in the slalom section. Wants a little bit more than a 1:14.4. Leaves the slalom, comes through the left. Plenty of speed, actually shakes his head. He's not quite getting what he needs out of the lap. So I don't think he is going to go faster this time by his own admission. He comes through, 1:14.439 to beat. What is he going to do? It's a 1:14.0, so it is an improvement, but he clearly felt there was more in the board than that. So 1:14.079 for Jan Matoška, but he wanted more. What about İsmail Kaptanoglu? His first lap was obviously classified as a DNF. He now works his way through the slalom. And he's gone to the left side, so it's left, right, left, and then he'll work his way through to the... sorry, he went out going to the other side, so he went left, and so it becomes right, left, right, left, right. Then he goes through the left-hander and the double right to finish off. There's the finish line that he approaches now. So what is İsmail Kaptanoglu going to do? His first lap was non-compliant, 1:17.355 to finish off. 1:17.335, I should say, for İsmail Kaptanoglu. That puts him into fourth position behind Adam Ficek, Adam Kolar, Jan Matoška. So currently Adam Ficek is the fastest of the stock runners on a 1:06.7. Adam Kolar is the fastest of the rookie runners, a 1:11.36. So we'll have to see who gets the best of it as they work their way further forward. So now the next two riders to take on the challenge. For Kuwait, it is Mohamed El Tamimi, and for China, it is Zhang Maozhou. Waiting to see how the competitors and the contenders find the course and get the most out of it. Obviously still hoping for a very competitive run around the turns. But it's going to be a tricky one to predict who is going to get the pole position here. It's hard to look beyond anybody other than Kim Down, who's got plenty of pace. And we saw in the Masters just how much he was able to find in his final lap once he's got his confidence up. So I do wonder if we're going to get to see similar from the competitors in the Masters category this time. But sorry, from the stock category, I should say, this time. But it's fairly impressive that someone of the ilk of Kim Down still finding incredible speed around the course to go as quickly as he is. But a very impressive competitor nonetheless is Kim Down. 41 years of age and still competing at the height of stock as well as in the Masters category. So now waiting to see how things go for Mohamed El Tamimi and Zhang Maozhou. Sun cream is an absolute necessity here on the beach at Fujairah. 41 degrees Celsius at the moment. So the sun is slowly starting to go down. So the temperature is dropping slightly. I do mean slightly. I think there is a little bit of repair work to go on the course. One of the boys is out of position. So the officials are just trying to make sure it's all clear before they can send them on their way for qualifying. And you can tell that we're not ready to go raining at the moment because the jet skis are in the middle of the course. They will eventually work their way out of it again. So now the racers are charging their way to the final turn. And that's going to be the start of the run then. Here we go for Mohammed Al-Tamimi of Kuwait. So the jet ski has cleared the course. So Mohammed Al-Tamimi is going to get his chance to go for the fast lap. He can be very quick as he works his way forward. Excellent run coming up then for the Chinese rider Zhang Maozhu as well. Very competitive times expected to come then from these two. Mohammed Al-Tamimi, having had a sort of a partial campaign last year, it'd be great to see him do a full-time chill in 2025. So we'll see what he's got fresh out of the blocks. Good run so far for Mohammed Al-Tamimi. Looks cool and confident. So too does the Chinese rider Zhang Maozhu. Looking to put in a good effort here and a good time. Turns around the buoy in perfect smoothness. Great fluidity. Here again, Mohammed Al-Tamimi. Just got to time these turns very carefully as he comes out of the slalom. In through the left, manages to knock over the buoy. You can do that as long as you've got the board on the right side of the buoy. You're allowed to knock it to give you just that little bit of extra fluidity off the turn. Mohammed Al-Tamimi's first time is a 1:15.4. That puts him right on the hunt of Jan Matoshka. So not much to choose between them at the moment. Very close run thing at the moment for the two riders as they continue in close quarters. So certainly an interesting run of it so far from the competitors out on the course. There is Zhang Maozhu finishing off his lap time. Is that going to be a good enough run to make steady progress? We'll find out as he comes through. Zhang Maozhu over the line. What is the time going to do? 1:08.11. So Zhang Maozhu on a 1:08.113, right up into second position then, quicker than Adam Kolar and not far away from Adam Ficek. So if he can find an improvement, Zhang Maozhu of China has a real chance to step it up here. So here comes Mohammed Al-Tamimi, the Kuwaiti, just wanting to finish strong. Works his way through the slalom to finish off the lap in good fluidity. Very nicely taken so far from Mohammed Al-Tamimi. No major concerns on the lap as he works his way out of the slalom and gets his way through the final two corners. All trying to get that final little apex nailed up. The time he's got is a 1:15.411. Does he go quicker? Waiting for the time to update. And once it does, we'll have an indication as to how Mohammed Al-Tamimi has done over his qualifying pace. So Mohammed Al-Tamimi hoping to get a quicker time on the board. He has not done so. 1:16.490 for Mohammed Al-Tamimi. But what about Zhang Maozhu? 1:08.113 initially. What does he do as he comes through? Can he find a little bit more time to go up to the top spot? He does find more time. It's a 1:08.080. But I'm afraid that's only good enough for second place. It's not good enough to topple Adam Ficek from his perch on the top spot. So it'll have to do for Zhang Maozhu. But a fairly solid effort, though, from Mohammed Al-Tamimi and the Kuwaiti, who is fairly new to the category. Can be very happy with the way he started his 2025 campaign. He is currently P5 on a 1:15.411. So a good start and a fantastic effort. So on to the course now. We've got two more competitors for South Korea. It is Han Tae-hee, and then for Thailand it is Danton Jangrankuket. So Jangrankuket is going to be working hard here to get a decent time on the board. There is Han Tae-hee of Korea. looking for his first flying lap time. And he sets off in pursuit of it. 2 laps of the course, as always. Making sure that you go right of the red boys and left of the yellow boys. That's how you get the lap times done in MotoSurf. So for Han Tae-hee of Korea, and for Thailand, it is Danthorn Hwangrunkranket. It is not going to be an easy lap to find. Anywhere close to the mark of Zhang Maozhou is a good lap time. A 1:08.0 is very fast for this course. But if you thought that was quick, wait until you see the elites after these stock category races. That's when you see some serious speed. Could well be seeing a lap time or two get close to the minute mark. 10 best riders in the world in the elite category, all from the Czech Republic. That's where the sport was homegrown. So across the line, a good opening gambit there in terms of a smooth run from Han Tae-hee. Works his way through there. The Thai rider, Danthorn Hwangrunkranket, is obviously going to try and get himself closer to the mark as well. Here is Han Tae-hee, finishing off the turn, and this could be a very tidy run as he goes into his second flying lap. But what can Han Tae-hee do on the first time lap? It's a 1:10.725 from the Korean. So straight up into the top 3, ahead of Adam Kolar, leading rookie category racer. Good start to proceedings then from Han Tae-hee. Straight into the water with his right hand. Wants to get the fluidity of that turn nailed. Here comes Danthorn Hwangrunkranket, the Thai rider. So Danthorn looking for a decent run of it. Out through the S's of the end of the slalom. Finishing off, will exit the slalom section now. And then make his way towards those final 3 corners. Through the left and then through the double right. A very smooth and tidy exit as things continue on in fine felt for Danthorn Hwangrunkranket. What is the time going to be? And it's right up to 3rd for Hwangrunkranket. 1:09.166. So Hwangrunkranket goes into 3rd position then. So Danthorn Hwangrunkranket is now into 3rd position, just quicker than Han Tae-hee of Korea. But here comes the Korean. Out of the final apex, can we go quicker than a 1:9.1 to go into 3rd position? We've got a lot of time to find if we want to go quicker than Adam Vicek, but it's a 1:10.536 for Han Tae-hee. That's not bad at all. He can be very happy with that. An improvement on the second run and a 1:10.536. But here comes the Thai, leading rookie rider at the moment, Danthorn Hwangrunkranket. One of a collection of Thai racers on both MotoSurf and jet skis who are really starting to kick on a pace now for world supremacy. But this young man, oh, he's gone! Just as I was glorifying him, he's gone into the water at the wrong time. Disaster for Danthorn Hwangrunkranket. I thought he was going to find enough time there to find a run for 2nd position, but it's all gone wrong for Danthorn Hwangrunkranket. I thought there might have been a 1:08 lap in the bank there, and I think maybe he thought the same thing as well. But for Danthorn Hwangrunkranket, the pole position opportunity is washed away, and so he comes through, he finishes the lap. It's a 1:14.1, so he only actually lost 5 seconds in that little mistake. But it's enough. Hand on hips, and he's devastated. Here it is again. Just too tight a line there into the hairpin of the slalom. And I'm afraid it's all gone wrong for Danthorn Hwangrunkranket to try and get the pole position. Unfortunately, it won't happen, but he is the quickest of the rookie riders so far. So he might well get rookie pole position, but he's certainly not going to get stock pole at the moment. So his time of a 1:09.166, and he won't get a second chance to that because it was his error rather than a technical problem. So the next 2 to head out onto the circuit, Sweden's Hannes Hultberg and the Czech Republic's Jan Travnicek. So there is the very talented Hannes Hultberg, who's become addicted to this sport of late. He actually spends his majority of his time working in the skiing industry. That's how he's been training to get into the world of MotoSurf. I asked him, so is it skiing in the winter, MotoSurf in the summer? He said, well, not anymore, it's not. It's pretty much MotoSurf all year round now. But he still does a lot of work with his skiing business, and his skiing is good training for this. But he was telling me that his upper body is really ready to cope with all the pressures of it, and he's never been in fitter form on the top half of the body. But it's his legs that are a real problem in MotoSurf. They just go to jelly. He needs to strengthen his leg muscles a little bit more. There is Jan Travnicek, the Czech rider, working his way into the first chicane to start things off in the best possible fashion. So far, so good. So everything is going according to plan then for the man on top of this particular board, Hannes Hultberg of Sweden. Hoping that this is going to be a clean and tidy first lap. It's a quick one, that is for sure. And Hannes Hultberg might be flirting with the top spot after this particular run. Let's have a look. Third place, 108.672 for Hannes Hultberg. That is a great start. So Hannes Hultberg looking quick. What about Jan Travnicek, though? Jan Travnicek looks like he could have a really strong run coming into the slalom. One hand in the water, perfectly okay to correct and get you into a faster run through. You've got to be so committed through these turns. The throttle is in one hand, your glove is usually worn in the other, so that you can attack these corners and not have too much of an issue with it. Fairly smooth lean angle then from Jan Travnicek. He crosses the line to finish his first flying lap. Where does he position himself? P5 at the moment, 109.697. Here's Hannes Hultberg. A few more tenths of a second and he could be in second place ahead of Zhang Maozhou. He needs another 2 seconds realistically to go quicker than Adam Ficek, who had a mighty run earlier on to go top in the stock category. But is anybody going to match the pace of Adam Ficek? Out of the final couple of corners, the Swede Hannes Hultberg looking for the pole time. Can he go quicker than a 108.672 for starters? He can. It's a 107.7. That puts him second. So a 107.710 for Hannes Hultberg, and that is second position. And that is exactly what I was telling you about the strength in his legs. He actually has to hold them as he finishes the lap because he is so exhausted. So there goes Jan Travnicek into the slalom for the second and final time. A 109.697 to beat. Certainly not going to be easy to beat it. Exits the slalom through the left. There is the checkered flag in the air, ready to greet Jan Travnicek. What kind of a lap time can he cook up with? A 109.697 to beat. He comes through, and Travnicek has got... Waiting for the time to update on the screen. It's taking a little bit of time this time. Jan Travnicek opened his account with a 109.697. What is the second lap time? It hasn't updated yet. So we're still on tenterhooks now as to whether it's good enough for the top spot. So far, it's still P5. Waiting for the second time to update. Time to hit the refresh button, I think. As there is Hannes Hultberg up to second position. Perfectly happy with that. Well, for some reason, Jan Travnicek's time is not coming up on the screen for the second run. So I'm not entirely sure what his second run is. We'll hopefully get that update very soon as Hannes Hultberg walks his way back to the shore. Very good work indeed from the Swede, currently looking at Group B pole. Adam Ficek, of course, still has Group A pole by about a second. Well, we're still sat here on the shoreline waiting to see what Jan Travnicek's second time is. At the moment, he's got a 109.697, but I'm not sure what his second lap time is. Well, anyway, into the run goes Lorenzo Tanda of Italy and Miroslav Kups of the Czech Republic. So I guess we're going to find out in a short while what the second lap time was from Jan Travnicek. We haven't even got the run that it was a DNF yet. So your guess is as good as mine as to where Jan Travnicek is. As we look at the number 12, that is the Italian Lorenzo Tanda. Still very early days in his career as a MotoSurf racer for Lorenzo Tanda. His whole family has elected to come out to the United Arab Emirates to support him this time. It's going to be really exciting to see what the Italian stallion can do here. So Lorenzo Tanda just double checking. Oh, he's actually had to come off the board and go into the water. Maybe there's a problem with the board because Lorenzo Tanda, certainly this is not in the script. So hopefully Lorenzo Tanda is going to be able to get going again because there is Miroslav Kups ready to go racing. He's going to go for a fast lap there on the board as Lorenzo Tanda has climbed back onto the board once again and is now going to try and find his feet. There is the technical team looking after things in the timing decks and making sure that everything is legal and above board. You've got to try and make sure... Oh, that was a good shot. Goodness me. That very nearly connected. I think you need to work on that. That was about an 8.3, 8.4 at a push. You need to work a little bit more accuracy to get the perfect 10. But it was a good effort. I'll give you that. So as we watch Jan Travnicek, sorry, we watched Miroslav Kurbs getting a fast lap time in. The crew know how to have fun here at UIM MotoSurf. It's a hard target to hit as well, that drone, so fair play, good effort. So Jan Travnicek's time is still not updating. I think there's a difficulty with his transponder. Hopefully that will update shortly. But certainly for the moment, Lorenzo Tanda and Miroslav Kurbs are trying to find the pace to get a decent lap time on the board. Here is Miroslav Kurbs. So let's see what the Czech rider can come up with as he crosses the line to finish off his first lap. We're going to see a replay of the best shot we have seen so far today. Wait for it. That's definitely an 8.4. It didn't quite connect with his target. Mind you, a moving target is not so easy to hit. So Miroslav Kurbs' opening lap was a 109.993. That's really on the nose of Jan Travnicek. So he's trying desperately to find that extra 2 or 3 tenths of a second. Nice connections, nice change of direction from Miroslav Kurbs. What's Lorenzo Tanda done? Well, his first time is a 138.0, so he's clearly having more technical problems with the board. Here comes Miroslav Kurbs over the line. 109.993 to beat his own time. 106.7 for the pole. What can Miroslav Kurbs do? Well, Lorenzo Tanda's done a 110.75. That's very good work indeed from the Italian. Just a whisker off Han Tae-hee, the Korean. But here comes the second time from Miroslav Kurbs. 109.993 to beat then for the Czech. He needs to find another 3 tenths of a second if he's going to overtake Jan Travnicek. But across the line comes Miroslav Kurbs. P6 for the moment. Does he go up? He does. A 108.77 for Miroslav Kurbs. That puts him into provisional 4th position. Not a bad run at all for Miroslav Kurbs. So that will do for the time being. He's got a little bit more time to find in the races tomorrow, but certainly good confidence booster there. And well done to Lorenzo Tanda. A bit of a confidence shake on the opening lap, but bounces back for a 110.751. That's quicker than Adam Kolar, quicker than Jan Matoška. So Jan Travnicek is still sat on a 109.697. His second time has not been updated. So for the sake of argument, we're going to suggest that that's the lap he's got. Beautiful backdrop here in Fujairah in the United Arab Emirates. A lovely part of the country, this. So now we've got just a handful of riders to go in the stock category. 8 riders left. Adam Janaszek, Hassan Bawabas, Damian Kadlec, Anthony Squire, David Kirchgar, Mike Michailidis, Fares Ramadan, and Kim Down, who of course has the provisional pole position in Masters. Can he get the pole in stock as well? This is the true backdrop of the only Emirates city on the east coast of the country. This is still pure Arabia as far as United Arab Emirates is concerned. It hasn't quite been sullied by Western culture just yet. It's still a pure part of the country, this, and it's wonderful to see how all of the contenders have acclimatized to the intense heat here in Fujairah. All I can say is thank goodness for ice, water and air conditioning systems. Otherwise, we would have all melted into a crisp on the sand dunes here among the crabs. So Adam Janaszek and Hassan Bawabas are the two that go to battle now. So once again, we've got through the competitors that are starting to put on a good show. Expect some fireworks now, because we've got 8 riders here who all have the potential to grab the pole position in the stock category. Janaszek, Hassan Bawabas, Damian Kadlec, Anthony Squire, David Kirchgar, Mike Michailidis, Fares Ramadan, and Kim Down of South Korea. So there's a great opportunity to make good work of things now. There is Hassan Bawabas, the very talented Q80, a very impressive competitor as well. Did such a good job in Macau at the tail end of last year. So I would suspect that he's going to be going full guns blazing for the stock category again in 2025. So it will be a tricky one. Of the 8 competitors that we've got left, there are 3 riders who are actually in the rookie category. David Kirchgar, Mike Michailidis and Fares Ramadan. So those 3 are obviously going to be wanting to get a decent time on the board. Adam Janaszek's first time is a 107.76. So straight out of the blocks into 3rd position, quicker than Zhang Mao Zhu and Miroslav Kurbs. So there's definitely going to be an exciting charge for the pole position now from Adam Janaszek. There is Hassan Bawabas, who's trying to open out the gambit with a very solid time. Full commitment coming out of the slalom. Left. Clashes with the boy, does so again in the right, fully committed, leaving nothing to chance. Hassan Bouabas, what kind of lap time is he going to come up with? Could it be in the 107s for Hassan Bouabas? It's quicker than that. 106.4 from Hassan Bouabas, straight to the top spot for the Kuwaiti superstar. Excellent from Hassan Bouabas. That is the top spot with his first flying lap. A 106.416 from Hassan Bouabas. So now it's up to Adam Janusek to see if there's anything more that he can produce. Out of the final corner, the checkered flag comes down. Faster than a 107.764 would do for Janusek. That's his current time. What does he get this time? Waiting for the time to update on the board. It hasn't yet. Hassan Bouabas is still pushing. He still thinks there's more to find than a 106.4 because he's got some big firepower to come in Kadlec, Squire and Kim Down. So there's a lot more still to do. Adam Janusek's time has not updated yet on my timing screen. So we'll see what kind of time he comes up with, but certainly Hassan Bouabas looking for more than a 106.4, which was already very impressive, already good enough to go top spot. So what can Hassan Bouabas achieve? 106.4 to beat. Can he go quicker? We wait for the time to update. And I think there's a slight technical hitch with our timing screen at the moment because it hasn't updated for either Adam Janusek or Hassan Bouabas. So hopefully that will update very soon. But that's what it means to Hassan Bouabas. He now knows that he's currently pole position, even without the second run. And look how he's celebrating. Hassan Bouabas, full of style and flair. The Kuwaiti, such an incredible athlete, a great competitor. And it's wonderful to see him so joyous, so happy after an incredible performance. This is how you celebrate in MotoSurf. Check this out. That is some proper airtime from Hassan Bouabas. That is, I'm the king. I'm the top dog. Superb from Hassan Bouabas. He didn't even need the second lap to go top spot. So Hassan Bouabas with a 106.416. Job done. Now, I think there is a slight pause because there is a slight issue with the timing screen. So as a result of that, they're going to need to just double check and do some work to get things smoothed over. But look at Hassan Bouabas. Have you ever seen a strut as authoritarian as that on the beach? That's amazing from Hassan Bouabas. Come and get me if you can, says the Kuwaiti. You're allowed to get fired up about a lap like that. Right, it has now updated, and his second lap was a 106.442. So no wonder he's happy, because even his second lap that wasn't an improvement would have been good enough to get the pole time. Adam Janusek, by the way, didn't improve on his 107.764, so he remains in P4 ahead of Zhang Maozhu and Miroslav Kups. So the fight for pole position is joined. Can Hassan Bouabas hang on to that with a 106.41? There's every chance that there's going to be a couple of riders out there that can take him on. But now he's got two big guns coming for him. Damian Kadlec and Anthony Squire of the United States. There is Anthony Squire flying the flag for the United States of America. And this could well be Anthony Squire's year. He had a very confident end to 2024. The American would dearly love to become a world champion. And this year, in the stock category, he has a great chance to do it. But so does this man, Damian Kadlec, who is so daring on these tight hairpins in the slalom. Check him out. And this is just for starters. He comes through to complete the lap, goes into the run. And so now Damian Kadlec goes top. 105.821, the very first flying lap from Damian Kadlec. And Hassan Bouabas' dreams of glory are only about 90 seconds in duration. Damian Kadlec goes top, but here comes Anthony Squire. Look at his strength in 2025. He was pretty quick last year. He seems to have gone away and done his homework now, as he now gets out of the slalom, looking down at his foot to make sure everything's okay without skipping a beat. Here comes Anthony Squire. Can he take the pole time away from Damian Kadlec on the first run? Or will he have to wait for a second attempt? It's the second attempt that will go for it for him. 107.159 from Anthony Squire. Just a little whisker away from Adam Ficek. Quicker than Hannes Hultberg of Sweden. So this man, Damian Kadlec, already has the pole position snatched away from Hassan Bouabas. But can he find even more to silence the likes of Klichka, Michailidis, Ramadan and Kim Down? That's the man he's really racing. Kim Down, last year's champion, in the Masters and last year's vice champion in stock. With no Kim Min-young, there's a chance to really go for it. So what can Damian Kadlec do with the second lap? It's a 105.962. That one would have been good enough for pole on its own. But an excellent performance from Damian Kadlec, the new pole sitter. But for how much longer? Here comes Anthony Squire, looking even more aggressive in the slalom than he did on the first run. He really is leaving nothing to chance. The American pushing, trying to find that little bit extra. Exits the slalom. Through the left, really attacks the boy. Through the right. Up for the far side, checkered flag is in the hand of the official. What can Anthony Squire do? Is it quicker than a 107.15? It is. It's a 106.989, but it's only good enough for fourth place. The American's done the best he can. But at the moment, it's Damian Kadlec. So Damian Kadlec has the pole for the moment, but there are 4 riders still to come. 3 of them are in the rookies category. David Kuchka and Mike Michaelidis will be up next, and then it will be Faraz Ramadan. But then we will see Kim Down, vice champion in stock, reigning champion in Masters. Can he turn this around and make it a double trouble pole in the stock category as well as the Masters? Only Kim Down can do it. He's the only racer in the field doing 2 classes here this weekend. All sorts of competitions at Fujairah Marine Club. You get rowing as well as MotoSurf. I think they do jet ski. I'm fairly sure they do sailing as well. All different forms of racing and all forms of different competition that take place here in the United Arab Emirates. Check that out. That's an incredible discipline, isn't it? And what is that? Is that a team of 20? Very nearly. Very impressive work from that particular rowing troupe. Well done, guys. Keep it going. You're live on the MotoSurf channel. Excellent stuff. Right, let's see what David Kuchka and Mike Michaelidis of the Czech Republic and Cyprus, respectfully, can do in their fight for the rookie pole. Now, the rookie pole is currently being held by Thantron Rangrangrukit, who's done a 109.166 quite a long time ago now. But he still holds the rookie pole position for the time being. There's still plenty of opportunities for Kuchka, Michaelidis and the Kuwaiti Faraz Ramadan to take that pole position away. But it is going to be tight all the way. So here's David Kuchka. Kuchka, a real competitor in 2025, gunning for glory in the rookie category. Let's see what kind of lap time he can produce as he comes through to finish the first lap. David Kuchka straight into 8th. That is the quickest rookie time so far, 108.109. Provisional rookie pole for David Kuchka. But what about this man, Mike Michaelidis? Justice was served to him at the tail end of last year when his victory was reinstated outside the racing season. They took his appeal to the racing courts. They got it won. They got it overturned. And Mike Michaelidis is the rightful winner of the Macau World Cup. But can he sustain this and continue on in fine fashion to move forward? And so far, we've got a problem for the battle for pole position because Mike Michaelidis is trying to find the fastest little section that he can. So Mike Michaelidis trying to find that little bit of extra pace. What can he do in comparison? Oh, he's just outside the time of Thantron Rangrangrukit. 109.593 for Mike Michaelidis of Cyprus. But this man still pushing on a pace. It's going to be tight. It's going to be tricky. But David Kuchka has got the pole position for the time being. Can he go even quicker? A 108.109. Can he go quicker still? He comes up with the goods. And is the lap time quicker? Certainly it's an exhausting one for David Kuchka. But again, it takes a little bit of time for the screen to update, so we'll have to find out. But Mike Michaelidis wants to go quicker still. He needs to find another 1.5 seconds if he wants the pole position in the rookie category. So Mike Michaelidis starting fairly confident, hoping for a little bit more. David Kuchka's second time has not updated yet on the screen, but what about Mike Michaelidis? Can the Cypriot go faster still? He's got a 109.59. Let's see what happens when he comes through. Waiting for the times to update for Mike Michaelidis. And they haven't yet, but he's currently on a 109.593. We wait for the second time to come through an update on the screen for both David Kuchka and Mike Michaelidis, who are currently 8th and 11th, but 1st and 3rd in the rookies class. And then we will get the fastest 2 racers in the world in stock category. Faraz Ramadan, quickest rookie. Kim Down, fastest stock. All the nations of the world that are competing here this week, from far and wide. Really exciting to see all the competitors gearing up for another fast experience. Looks as though the timing screen is needing a little bit of an adjustment, which is why we've got a bit of a pause before Faraz Ramadan and Kim Down go to battle for their fast lap. Once that's been corrected and updated, we'll be able to go racing. Fans and enthusiasts, young and old, here on the beach at Fujairah, and not just of a human nature. Last night I was walking the course and I noticed there's quite a few crabs around, quite a few fish as well. All interested spectators, I'm sure, of the world of MotoSurf in 2025. So we're just waiting for the timing screen to reset itself. They've actually done a Control-Alt-Delete job by the look of it. That is the MotoSurf World Champion 2042. Getting himself ready for an opportunity in the future, I'm sure. Certainly falling in love with the sport at first sight. So now we're going to get to see the two big names of the sport go head-to-head for the rookie pole and the stock pole. Faraz Ramadan of Kuwait and Kim Down of South Korea. With the absence of Kim Min-sung in stock for 2025, this is surely the chance for the 41-year-old from Korea to put on a show. But there is Faraz Ramadan, former jet ski World Cup king, and now very much solidifying his reputation in the world of MotoSurf. He wants to change disciplines full-time now. So having been a jet ski specialist, now has decided to step into the world of MotoSurf. It's a very technical discipline, very tricky, very different competition. So now we're just waiting for the command to go from the officials. Once the timing screen has been updated, then I'm sure we'll get the command for the last two men to go and do their run. But still waiting for the times of David Kudichka and Mike Michailidis to come. Then, of course, we'll have the elite category, and that is the 9, I should say, best racers in the world in the elite category. Chilling out on the rocks here on the beach at Fujairah for the Grand Prix. Excellent opportunity for this first round of the 2025 UIM MotoSurf World Championship to kick on with some great racing. I cannot wait for tomorrow and Sunday. The racing we had in the Macau World Cup last year was simply marvellous. And we're going to see even more. Right, now we've got the times updated. David Kudichka did a 107.290 to go quicker still. And that puts him in the rookie pole for the time being. A 107.290 to beat then for him. And then the time we saw from Mike Michailidis, he didn't make an improvement with the last one, so he remains on a 109.593. So that means that the time to beat then for Faraz Ramadan is a 107.29, and the time to beat for Kim Down is a 105.82. Hashtag challenge accepted. Here we go. The run for pole position in rookie and stock begins. So the two riders obviously going for it. So Kim Down is going to wait, I believe, for Faraz Ramadan, as Faraz Ramadan will be the one who gets the lap time in first. The green flag is in the air and it's ready to go. So Faraz Ramadan will go into the flying lap first, and the two riders will now push for pole position. Faraz Ramadan trying to get the rookie time, and Kim Down of South Korea trying to get the #1 time in stock. They've both got a big mission here. David Kudichka's time of a 107.29 is going to be very difficult to eclipse. And Damian Kadlic's time of a 105.821 is going to be even tougher still. To give you an indication, the Masters time that was set by Kim Down earlier was a 107.184, which means with the stock board, he's got to go 1.3 seconds quicker if he wants to get pole position over Damian Kadlic. That is a tall order, even for Kim Down. So let's find out if he's got what it takes, the 41-year-old from South Korea, to go to the top spot. It is going to be a big ask, but if anyone can, Kim Down can. As for the rookie pole, David Kudichka's time of a 107.290 is going to be a very tricky one for this man to beat, but Faraz Ramadan working hard, trying to find that last little bit of extra. The 17-year-old from Kuwait, hoping to try and get himself into pole position. Fully committed now to MotoSurf full-time, having been a king in jet ski in the past. Now he wants to really put Kuwait on the map of MotoSurf in the World Championship, the opening round of the season in the Fujairah Grand Prix. What has he done for the opening gambit? So they're just starting their time lapse now. It hasn't actually kicked on a pace yet. So now Faraz Ramadan versus Kim Down. Gunning for the fast laps. There is Kim Down. Incredible that this man is still at the peak. 41 years of age. And he'll be representing South Korea in the World Games in Chengdu in August. So let's see what sort of time Kim Down is going to give us as he goes across the line to begin his charge for pole position. I think that was the beginning of his lap, in fact. So now Kim Down will be pushing. Here comes Faraz Ramadan. The time to be in the rookie lap is a 1:07.290, the second run of David Krička of the Czech Republic. Can the Kuwaiti, Faraz Ramadan, get into pole position on the first run, or will he have to dial it up a bit and go for it again in the second? Here he comes, out of the turn, over the line, 1:07.29 to beat. What can he do? Faraz Ramadan goes through the line and finishes off. We're waiting for his time to update. Neither of the times have updated, so they were on their second lap after all. But we're still waiting for the times to be confirmed. Faraz Ramadan is giving it everything he's got. And Faraz Ramadan's time is a 1:08.296. It wasn't good enough, I'm afraid. So a 1:08.296, and that means that the pole is going to go to David Krička in rookie. But what about Kim Down? He's done a 1:07.724. That's already quicker than he did in Masters. He's going to find a mammoth effort to get pole position this time. What can he do? It's not enough. He doesn't improve, and that means that Damian Kadlec is going to be pole position in the stock category with a 1:05.821. It's mighty, and it's enough to eclipse the vice champion from last year, Kim Down, who can only get a 1:07.724. It's a changing of the guard in 2025. So Faraz Ramadan and Kim Down shake on a fantastic duel for pole position, a feat that neither rider managed to get. Faraz Ramadan was second in rookie. Kim Down was 7th overall. There's Faraz Ramadan as he came through over the line. Nice bit of airtime. So close to the pole position. Looks around. Has he got it? No, not quite. He'll have to wait until the race is tomorrow to make his big impact. But now the engine revs will rise on the Fujairah shore. The 9 top athletes in MotoSurf will go to battle in the elite category. Bring it on. The fight for pole position is going to be intense. Now, unlike every other category where you basically get the board out of the box and you go racing up at the sharp end and whatever happens, happens, in the elite category, you can make some technical changes, and we'll talk about that in a short while. That's what makes the elite the Formula One of MotoSurf. You can make some adjustments, you can make some changes, and then it comes down to who's got the nerve to push for it. So there's the stock qualification provisional running. Damian Kadlec on the pole from Hassan Bouabas and Adam Ficek. Anthony Squire P4. David Krička did enough to get the rookie pole position in P5. And then Hannes Hudberg, Adam Janusek and Zhang Mao Zhu rounding up the top 8. And so we get the final push in time qualifying on this Friday afternoon as we approach 5 p.m. Still 39 degrees Celsius on the shoreline here in Fujairah, the only Emirates city on the east coast of the United Arab Emirates. And a magnificent battle for pole awaits us. Lukasz Zahorski, Yuri Wolf, Daniel Pavaznik, Oliver Nevada, Denis Berda, Matej Kožešík, Dominik Kadlec, Alex Lukscheider and Matthias Novotny. The best riders in the world will battle for pole in elite. This is definitely going to be an exciting run for pole position. And we've got a bit of a celebrity on the first run in the elite category, because the first man out is going to be Lukasz Zahorski. He only joined in for last year's competition in the Macau Grand Prix. And now he's got an opportunity here to work his way forward and bounce back. I spoke to him earlier on, Lukasz Zahorski, and he said, when I found out you were commentating, Jake, I decided I'm not going to race in stock. I'm going to go elite. I doubt that was the genuine reason, but it's very nice for Lucas to kind of give me a little bit of credence there. But he decided to step out of stock and go into the elite category. I'm sure there were more reasons to it than just my attendance, but a nice compliment nonetheless. But Lukasz Jaworski actually spent the body of last season in the Electric Challenge, which was only based in Europe last season. The event's taking place in Poland, Sweden, Italy and Croatia. And Lukasz Jaworski, the dominant victor for Rocket Racing last year in the Electric Challenge ahead of Jano Vankersbilk and Sebastian Lux. Of course, they don't race the Electric Challenge outside of Europe because of the logistical challenges of transporting the equipment. But Lukasz Jaworski was the Electric Challenge champion last year. He only competed at the Macau Grand Prix, but he still came away with a podium after a stunning performance. Matis Novotny and Alex Lukscheider were the men who fought for the title last year, and they are the men who will fight for the first pole position of the season. Here is the man himself, the main man, Lukasz Jaworski of the Czech Republic, the number one, making his return full-time to the elite category. This man wants to be a champion again, and a champion of the world in elite is like winning Formula One on the waves. So here goes Lukasz Jaworski. This is a man with such incredible pedigree in MotoSurf. Such an amazing journey through the sport leading up to this point. Has won almost everything there is to win. And yet he still finds the determination, still finds the pace within himself and the motivation to keep pushing, keep finding the hunger for more. 23 years of age from the Czech Republic. Could go on to become the gold medalist, of course, in the World Games in Chengdu in the summer. That's clearly got to be one of his targets for this year. Having qualified with the likes of Alex Lukscheider, Kim Min-song, Jin Shu-lin, Marek Skamla, Kim Down, Mark Andrews, Zhu Li Jing, Zhang Maozhu, Hassan Bawabas, Feng Zhenghao, Janton Vacharasek, Timotei Zubor, Daisuke Mamada, Fares Ramadan, Alexander Lana, Arkadiusz Janora, Mike Michailidis, Anthony Squire, Hannes Hultberg, Ted Burke, Sebastian Lux, Jano Vankersbilk and Suguru Ikeda. So we open the gambit with Lukasz Jaworski, and this man could go quick enough with these two runs to not be beaten. That is how good a rider he is. Lukasz Jaworski might get the pole position, and it might never be beaten. He will throw down the gauntlet for everybody else. The reason he goes first is because it all comes back to the rankings from last year, and he only did the final round of the championship, so he's the bottom of the rankings in the 9 riders that are here. His opening gambit, get this, is a 102.839. That might not be beaten. So Jaworski works his way through the course, trying to find that little bit extra everywhere he goes. Through the left, through the right, still hungry through the slalom. Look at the commitment from Lukasz Jaworski. A 102.839 is the quickest time we've seen all day long in any category. But can Lukasz Jaworski find even more? Because it might be good enough that nobody beats him. He comes out of the turn, he finds the line. What can he do? The ultimate time is a 103.031. He doesn't go quicker, so the time for everybody to beat is a 102.839. Ladies and gents, come and get him if you can. Take a bow, Lukasz Jaworski. He's back. So the next two men to try and take that away from him is Jiří Wolf and Daniel Pravaznik. Every single rider in the elite category in 2025 is from the Czech Republic. It's the country where this sport was born. And so we're going to have an absolutely phenomenal fight. But Lukasz Jaworski comes back to the shoreline. And the man who is one of the very, very best in the world of MotoSurf, that might be a time that's never beaten. What a return to the elite category for Lukasz Jaworski. He only decided to do the Macau World Cup last year in the elite category, having committed full-time to the Electric Challenge. This year, he's decided, I want to go elite. He wants to be the world champion in 2025, but then so did his 8 opponents. Here's Jiří Wolf, working himself into a very neat and tidy run. Jiří Wolf, of course, following in the footsteps of his son Oliver, 13 years of age. Jiří Wolf is 51 and still competing at the height of the elite category. Has not elected to go into Masters. You don't have to, not if you don't want to. And Jiří Wolf at 51 is still full-time world-class pedigree. There's Daniel Pravaznik going into his first flying lap. So a good opportunity for him to really continue his magnificent charge forward. Recently turned 23, same age as Lukasz Jaworski. But here is the incredible Jiri Wolf. He just has so much strength, so much resource. And it isn't going to be long until his son, Oliver Wolf, comes along and knocks him off his perch. But while he's still got breath in his body and a strong frame, Jiri Wolf is still going to be an elite rider and still put on a good show. What is his time? A 1:10.75. Not a bad opener for Jiri Wolf. There's more to come from him, though. That was just for starters. Here comes Daniel Provaznik. Good opportunity for him to showcase his flair in 2025. So Daniel Provaznik looking for a good run. He actually gets a little airborne as he goes through the slalom. That is just how much work you can put in on these waves. Through the left, through the double right to complete his first timed run. They get 2, of course. So Daniel Provaznik comes through, 102.839 to beat. We're going to get an indication of how tough it's going to be to beat the time. He does a 109.0. That's how tricky it'll be to beat Lukasz Zahorski. Even the likes of Jiri Wolf and Daniel Provaznik, they may not necessarily be the world's best of the best, but they're in the elite category. They've got a lot of time to fight to get close to Lukasz Zahorski. It's a tough mission. But then it's even going to be a tough mission for the likes of Dominik Kadlec, Alex Dukscheider and Matthias Novotny. So through the line goes Jiri Wolf. Does he get an improvement on his 1:10.751? He does not on this occasion. So 1:10.751 is the best you'll get from Jiri Wolf on this occasion. He'll go into the races tomorrow looking for more progress. Here's Daniel Provaznik through the slalom for the second and final time. Face full of water as he works his way through the right-hander. Nearly down in the drink. Got to be so careful where you position the board, where you lean in. Everything's got to be precise. So Daniel Provaznik tidies up what was a little clumsy end to the slalom. Comes through, over the line. What's the lap time? Is it quicker than 109.0? It is, 107.952. So it's a big improvement, but he's still 5 seconds away from the legend, Lukasz Zahorski. So now Lukasz is going to have the agonizing weight of watching these next 3 runs in the hope that none of the 6 riders that come ahead of him are going to be quicker. So now Jiri Wolf and Daniel Provaznik clear the course, and we get 2 more aces from the Czech Republic, Oliver Navala and Denis Berda. So just waiting for a slight check there, I think, to make sure that everything is going to be working okay. The member of the course, the official on the jet ski there, just giving the final command. But now we're going to get to see Oliver Navala and Denis Berda in the fight for pole position. They've got a lot of work to do. Let's be fair to the situation. Lukasz Zahorski returning to elite on a 102.839. That is a monstrous lap time. And any rider that wants to beat him is going to have to pull something special up their sleeve and throw it on the water. It is going to be so tricky to get pole position off Lukasz Zahorski. And I think realistically, only Alex Dukscheider and Matthias Novotny, the vice champion and reigning champion, are going to be the men to get it done. But there could be a bit of a spark from Matej Kozicek. I don't think he's going to be out of contention for the pole. He's going to need to really push it. Maybe a 103 is potential possible. Maybe Dominik Kadlec could do something about it. Oliver Navala and Denis Berda will be quite happy, I think, with 104s or 103s. So let's see, first of all, what Oliver Navala can do. One of the younger competitors in the elite category. Still very much making his segue into the category. Still plenty of opportunity for Oliver Navala. One of the youngest contenders in the category, 17 years of age. In fact, he's actually 16. He's going to be 17 at the end of the month. But the green flag goes for him on the second run. So let's see what Oliver Navala and Denis Berda are going to do. All Lukasz Zahorski can do is sit and wait to see if a 102.8 is going to be good enough. It looks like it could well be. Nobody's quite going to get to 60 seconds for the course. It's long and it's very tricky and technical. So through the riders come to finish off the lap. Here is Oliver Navala. Having just seen Denis Berda begin his lap, we now see Oliver Navala complete it to see what the first lap time for him is going to be. So as they come through, we'll wait for the adjustment. Unless, of course, that was Denis Berda just starting his run. So there is Oliver Navala on the 44. Yeah, that's exactly what happened there. So Oliver Nevada is going to finish the slalom run. We just saw Dennis Berda starting his lap. So here comes Oliver Nevada. Oh, it's the checkered flag, so the timing screen hasn't updated. So I was correct. They had completed 2 runs, but we're waiting for the lap times to update again for Oliver Nevada. He's done a 1:05.001 there for the first time, but he's gone quickest. I say that, but I don't think it's the correct time. So Oliver Nevada's time is going to be adjusted. So at the moment it's a 1:05.0. It's a 1:04.887 for Oliver Nevada. Now it's been corrected. A 1:04.887. That's good enough for second place. So he's gone quicker than Dennis Berda, who does a 1:05.066. But he comes through to finish his second run. Does he go quicker? No, he can't improve. So 1:05.066 then for Dennis Berda. A 1:04.887 for Oliver Nevada. Apologies for getting excited about Nevada going quickest when it wasn't the case. And that's what came up on the timing screen for a brief moment. So Oliver Nevada goes second quickest on a 1:04.887. And I did say a 1:04 lap would be a content result for Oliver Nevada. Not bad as we wait on the shoreline. Look at Matthias Novotny on the shoreline. The number 1 on the back of his shirt, the reigning champion. And he will join his rival from last year, Alex Lukscheider, in the final run. As we now watch Matej Kozišić and Dominik Kadlic. So Damian Kadlic got the pole in the stock category. Now it's time to see what these 2 riders can do. There goes Matej Kozišić. So Matej Kozišić goes for pole position in the elite category. He starts the first of his 2 flying laps. And about 30 seconds or so behind him, Dominik Kadlic will do the same thing. 4 riders to go in time qualifying here in the Fujairah Grand Prix of the United Arab Emirates, the first round of 5 in the 2025 UIM MotoSurf World Championship. Jake Sanson here in the commentary box for you on the shoreline in Fujairah. And boy, oh boy, is this fight for the elite pole position going to be fever pitch to the end. There's Dominik Kadlic going into the first of his 2 flying laps. They only get 2. And so now all of the preparation, all of the hard work comes down to nailing these apexes on these boys, trying to get that last little split second out of every single turn. Good run from Matej Kozišić. He exits the slalom, takes it through the left-hander, knocks the boy for 6, comes out of the right, smooth finish for the lap. He'll have 1 more lap to do, but what is his opening gambit? Matej Kozišić. 1:04.61. It's straight into second place for Matej Kozišić. So he's got an opportunity now to go for pole. He needs to find 1.8 seconds on the run, but that kind of time could be found. So great start from Matej Kozišić. What about Dominik Kadlic? Here comes Kadlic. Look at him charging through the slalom. Dominik Kadlic absolutely destroying these boys on the apexes out of the slalom. And he knows that there's going to be a very tall order to get anywhere close to Zahorski. But if he's going to get for it, he's got to really push. Over the line goes Kadlic. Can he go second? We wait for the time. He's gone 4th, 1:04.973. So he needs a little bit more. But here comes Matej Kozišić. He's in the slalom for the second and final time. He really has to attack these apexes. Out through the slalom exit. Left. Then cannon through, right, hug the apex again, checkered flag is in the air, and what can we see from Matej Kozišić? Can he go even quicker? The answer is yes, 1:03.981, but it's not enough for pole. He's still 0.9 of a second away from Zahorski. So what about Dominik Kadlic? A 1:04.973, that was his opening gambit, slightly off the pace of Oliver Nevada. But he's got to find that little bit more within himself. Right, left, exit the slalom, back through the left-hander. Really going to push it now to find that little bit extra. Dominik Kadlic. Can he emulate Damian Kadlic, who got the pole in stock? What will Dominik Kadlic do? A 1:04.973 is what it remains as. He doesn't go quicker, so he remains on a 1:04.973, just 1/10 of a second off the pace of Oliver Nevada. So Lukas Zahorski remains in pole with a 1:02.839, 0.9 of a second clear from Matej Kozišić. Is it enough? Will he stay pole position for the elite heats tomorrow? There's only 2 riders who can take it off him now. Here's a replay of just how tough it is when you are pushing the limits. That is a hard-charging Dominik Kadlec attacking every single turn. It is absolutely furious attacking stance from Dominik Kadlec. Great to watch. And then there were two. Just two men can take pole position away from the returning Łukasz Jaworski in Elite. Alex Lukscheider, the vice champion of 2024, and Matthias Novotny, the reigning champion. So the vice champion and the reigning champion will take on the legend for pole position. Pinch me, I think I'm dreaming. The best three riders in the world will now fight it out for pole position. Jaworski has already done his work. A 102.8, 9/10 of a second quicker than anything anybody's managed today. What can Lukscheider do? What can Novotny do? Into attacking mode goes Alex Lukscheider. Such a great rider. The end of 2024 really was the making of Alex Lukscheider. He's really starting to hit his form now. And when you've got Jaworski and Novotny as rivals, it's a bit like watching Rafael Nadal, Novak Djokovic, and Roger Federer try and take each other on. They really are at the peak of their ability. There goes Matthias Novotny into his first flying lap and into the slalom for Alex Lukscheider. Left, right, storm these turns. Out of the slalom. And Alex Lukscheider attacking every single turn with gusto and determination. This is going to be a tough one for Alex Lukscheider. His opening lap doesn't need to be quicker, but he does need to build up to it. What can Lukscheider do? He comes across the line, and it's second, a 103.4. He's got to find 6/10 of a second. It's doable. The fight for pole position is on for Alex Lukscheider. What about Matthias Novotny now? Through the slalom he goes. The reigning world champion, Matthias Novotny, trying to attack the slalom to see if he can get on terms with Łukasz Jaworski. A 102.839 is so tough to beat. Even Jaworski's second time is currently unbeaten. A 103.031 by any other rider. So let's see what happens as Matthias Novotny, the reigning champion, comes across the line. What's the time on the board? It's a 103.441. There's hundredths of a second in it. Right, both men have now got to find another 6/10 to take on Łukasz Jaworski. Can they do it? Lukscheider in the slalom. Every single boy is now your enemy. You've got to eat it up. Out of the slalom. Take on the left. Big charge from Lukscheider. 2 corners to go. Pole position is on the line. The checkered flag is in the air. Has he found enough? He comes through over the line. Is it enough? We wait for the time. And Lukscheider needs the improvement. 102.839 to beat for Alex Lukscheider. He did do a 103.423, and the timing screen couldn't have picked a worse time to be slow on its uptake. Matthias Novotny is going to finish his run. We'll get the update soon, but it's going to be an anticlimax as to whether we get the pole position or not, because the timing screen is going to do its own thing, but Matthias Novotny is going to complete it with as smooth a run as he possibly can. He comes through, he goes across the line. Lukscheider didn't make it, by the way. A 103.423. What about Novotny? Nor does he. Łukasz Jaworski stays in pole position by 6/10 of a second. Lukscheider and Novotny threw everything they could at it, and they gave it a brilliant, brilliant charge, but it wasn't enough. They couldn't find the pace. Lukscheider is second. The reigning champion, Matthias Novotny, has to settle for third. And Łukasz Jaworski, the returning legend, the 23-year-old from the Czech Republic, is on the top spot in Elite by just half a second. Lukscheider is second, Novotny is third from Matej Kozicek and Oliver Nevada, Dominik Kadlec, Denis Berda, Daniel Pavaznik, and Jiri Wolf. What a fantastic result for the Elite qualification. Łukasz Jaworski is back in Elite and he gets pole position. That, ladies and gentlemen, is that for the UIM MotoSurf World Championship opening weekend on the Fujairah Grand Prix on the shoreline of the eastern city in the United Arab Emirates. We cannot wait for the race action to come tomorrow and Sunday. Do please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You won't miss a moment of the most exciting opening round to the UIM MotoSurf Championship. 4 years from the Fujairah skyline and shoreline. From Jake Sanson and the whole crew, from the broadcasts, and from everyone here from UIM MotoSurf. Thank you very much for watching. We'll see you bright and early tomorrow for some proper Get Set Wet racing. Bye for now.